and welcome. You're watching the Newstrack. I'm Rahul Kanwal. Prime Minister Modi attacking the opposition's use of I.N.D.I.A as an acronym. What do voters in India today's political stock exchange think about the opposition's use of I.N.D.I.A? Is this an idea that can click, or is this something that can backfire on the opposition? We'll bring you the results of the PSC tracker questions around this big political slugfest over the name of our country, India. And that's my top focus on the Newstrack.
Modi refuses to bend to India. PM breaks silence, returns fire. Links India to PFI, Indian Mujahideen. Has India set narrative war? India versus Modi. Big focus on Newstrack.
Here's a look at the headlines today. Home Minister Amit Shah writes to leaders of the opposition in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, says the government has nothing to hide on Manipur.
मैंने आज दोनों सदन के विपक्ष के नेता को पत्र लिखा है कि कितनी भी लंबी चर्चा के लिए मैं तैयार हूं। सरकार को कोई डर नहीं है। चर्चा जिसको करनी है मणिपुर पर, वो चर्चा करने आए।
Congress versus Congress in Karnataka. 20 MLAs write to Chief Minister Siddaramaiah complaining about ministers not responding to requests for funds. DK Shivkumar claims plot to destabilize the government being hatched in Singapore. Government plans to counter award wapsi. Parliamentary panel recommends that recipients should be made to sign an undertaking, says don't make awards a political tool. NSA Ajit Doval holds key meeting with newly appointed Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Doval tells China to build strategic trust, says India is ready to work on the border route. Indian women's cricket team captain Harmanpreet Kaur suspended for the next 2 international matches and fined 25% of her fee for openly criticizing umpiring during the game against Bangladesh. The showdown over India as the name for the United Opposition Alliance is getting bigger. Today, Prime Minister Modi launched a massive attack, linking India to banned terror outfits like the Popular Front of India and even the Indian Mujahideen. The opposition says this is just an attempt to deflect from the core issue of Manipur.
Political sparks fly high over Manipur. The flares now engulf a nomenclature. The unified opposition's embrace of acronym India comes under intense attack from the highest level in the government. At a key BJP parliamentary party meet, Prime Minister Narendra Modi made striking remarks. He asserted that merely using the word India would not suffice. The Prime Minister pointed to historical references such as the East India Company and the terror group Indian Mujahideen. The suggestion was obvious. India as an acronym could be misleading or even evoke negative connotations.
इस सदन में भी जब
The opposition fired back. Inside Parliament, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge accused the Prime Minister of avoiding the real issues such as Manipur.
एक चांस दिया। आज मणिपुर जल रहा है, रेप हो रहे हैं। मणिपुर में मकाना जला है और आप वहाँ मणिपुर की बात हम कर रहे हैं। मणिपुर की बात हम कर रहे हैं। प्राइम मिनिस्टर ईस्ट इंडिया की बात कर रहे हैं।
Congress leader Rahul Gandhi sought to shrug off the Prime Minister's stinging remarks. In a tweet, he instead pledged to work for restoration of peace in Manipur. Several other opposition leaders also countered the Prime Minister's remarks.
This sort of brute majoritarianism that you and your government are practicing, where you think you can say anything and do anything, the time has come, sir, that it is backfiring. All over, in every state of India, people are realizing what a dangerous choice that they made between the soul of India and between the BJP.
Only the Prime Minister is showing how anxious he is, how nervous he is, how he wants to escape the scrutiny of the opposition inside Parliament. He is afraid to speak inside Parliament, and that is why he is making these sort of illogical, intemperate remarks inside his own party meeting.
The name India for an alliance, a unifying force for the opposition, a subject of contention for the government. Manipur, meanwhile, awaits resolution. Bureau Report, India Today.
Meanwhile, the fires burning in Manipur continue to singe the monsoon session of Parliament. Today, for the fourth straight day, sloganeering and disruptions continued. The opposition is adamant in a statement from the Prime Minister on Manipur. Here are the key highlights from the day's drama from Parliament.
क्यों आप इस पे बात करने के लिए तैयार नहीं है? क्यों मोदी साहब यहाँ नहीं आते और बात नहीं करते? क्यों अपनी बात को नहीं रखते यहाँ पर? क्यों हमको समझाते नहीं है? नहीं, वहाँ जो घटना घटी उसको बोलना चाहिए. बाहर तो बोलते हैं ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी के बारे में. अरे मणिपुर के बारे में बात करो ना. ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी तो और बात है. और नहीं, आप देखो. Sir, it is pointless to expect him to come to the point because he has a point. He has a point to offer. The government is ready for discussion. We are ready to have a debate. We want a healthy debate discussion. We want to highlight the atrocities against women. We want to highlight what is happening in Manipur and Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan. We are concerned all over the country what is happening. We want the state governments to be accountable. This is not a matter to be politicized. It's a matter to have a heart. संवेदनशील विषय है. थोड़ी संवेदनशीलता दिखाइए. महिलाओं के प्रति संवेदनशील नहीं है आप सिर्फ पॉइंट और पॉइंटलेस पॉइंट कर रहे हैं. पॉइंट होता तो आप चर्चा शुरू करते. पॉइंट होता, आप पे दिल होता, आप पे संवेदनशीलता होती तो आज चर्चा चल रही होती. बजाय कि आप 3 दिनों से 4 दिनों से सदन की कार्रवाई को खराब करना, सदन को डिस्टर्ब करना, और देश देख रहा है, पूरा देश देख रहा है किस प्रकार से आप देश के जो भविष्य है उसको आप खराब कर रहे हैं. हमारे युवा युवतियों का भविष्य खराब कर रहे हैं. अगर आप पे संवेदनशीलता है, अगर आप पे वो दिल है तो आप तुरंत चर्चा शुरू करिए और सबके सामने आपके कारनामों के बारे में पूरा पता चले. When I was speaking, we saw the behavior of their members. They are not willing to listen to us. What is the point if they are not willing to listen to us?
The big face-off till yesterday was that the opposition was demanding a long duration discussion. The government at that time seemed to be suggesting a discussion with a limited duration. Now the Home Minister has made clear he doesn't care how long the discussion is and that Parliament is free to discuss as long as is required. The sticking point, though, is the opposition's demand that the Prime Minister speak on the issue of Manipur, which is something the government so far hasn't accepted. I want to go across live and exclusive to senior BJP leader Ravi Shankar Prasad as he joins us on the Newstrack. Ravi Shankar ji, namaste, welcome. I want to start by asking you about that demand being made by the opposition that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who speaks as often as he does on various issues to do with the country and globally, speak on the issue of Manipur, and your explanation about why the government so far hasn't accepted this demand from the opposition. Let's start from there. Ravi Shankar ji, welcome.
First of all, you must understand the shifting goal of the opposition. They are keen for a particular rule, not the substance of the debate. Rajnath Singh, Honorable Defence Minister, twice stated on the floor of the House, we are willing to have a full debate. Today, Amit Shah ji assured the House yesterday, individually, today again, that we are willing to have as long a debate as you want it to happen. Therefore, what is your problem? As regards the demand for the Prime Minister to speak, is it a genuine demand or a demand to humiliate the Prime Minister? I am putting this premise very bluntly to you. Rahul, you might recall that whenever the presidential speech is there, then the thanksgiving is done by the Prime Minister in both the houses. In the last budget session, the PM has an extraordinary intervention in the Lok Sabha. When it came to Raj Sabha, your channel also showed it live. For 2 hours, the Prime Minister was interrupted. Narebaji hoti rahi. Did not allow him to speak. And I salute to my Prime Minister that he overcame all this and spoke for 2 hours. Are they willing to listen to the Prime Minister? Will they allow the Prime Minister to speak? Or cast all the abuses and run away from the House? That's their track record. The real point, Rahul Kanwal, is that Congress party today, I'm sorry to tell you that, a party with having so much of experience of governance, in the grip of a mindset led by Rahul Gandhi, that norms are alien to their thinking. That's the problem. And just to supplement your query, remember after the Bharat Jodo Yatra, he spoke in the parliament, वो मोहब्बत की दुकान खोजने गए थे and came back कहा कि हर जगह हमने एक ही बात सुनी, अडानी अडानी अडानी. Then I was meant to reply as an intervener and I asked him as a question, आप तो मोहब्बत की दुकान खोजने गए थे, आपको अडानी का इतना नफरत देके कहाँ से आ गए? That is their double standard, that is their hypocrisy. But the larger issue is, Rahul, for the sake of India, today the simmering conflict in Manipur required balm of the unanimity of the House to reach out to them. That is important. And that would have indeed acted as a big balm. But I'm sorry, the irresponsible conduct of the opposition is there for all of us to see.
You would have seen, Ravi Shankar ji, the Congress viraling old clips of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh when he spoke on the issue of the protests after the murder of Nirbhaya, the rape of Nirbhaya, and also protests in the Northeast, saying that Manmohan Singh used to speak. Now, here's the Prime Minister who has tackled every issue head on, and yet the opposition seeking to drive home the suggestion that he's running away, in the words of the opposition, from taking on the issue of Manipur. How do you look at this? The Prime Minister speaks about everything. As the country's leader, should he not be speaking out to the people of Manipur and trying to calm things down over there, getting two communities who you know are currently fighting with each other to try and begin the steps of reconciliation?
Let me put it in perspective. Did the Prime Minister openly appeal or not? What has happened in Manipur is devastating, is condemnable, and no one shall be spared. Did the Prime Minister also warn all the Chief Minister to be on guard against atrocity on women? And for kind, since you made a comparison of Manmohan Singh, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has visited Northeast 50 times. And all his ministers have visited 500 times. I also, as a Union Minister, visited Northeast many times. The development of Northeast, and are we getting elected and de-elected by chance or by the trust of the people? That's also a fact. And Mr. Manmohan Singh was the Raj Sabha MP for more than 20 years from, I understand, from Northeast or Assam in particular. What happened? Let's not talk about that. But since you mentioned about the Congress record, I remember there was a big attack in Manipur hundreds of people were killed. And who replied in the House? MOS of the Congress government, not even the cabinet minister. I am not on finger pointing today, but since you asked that question, I'm only trying to put the record straight.
So
And if the opposition has the grace to allow the debate to happen, I think a positive message will go. Therefore, कभी रूल पर अड़ेंगे, कभी पीएम के नाम पर अड़ेंगे, हम कुछ भी कर ले, बहस नहीं होने देंगे राहुल कंवल, जान लीजिए आप. मैं सॉरी, आई एम टॉकिंग इन हिंदी. हम कुछ भी कर लें, they don't want the debate to happen because Manipur's pathetic condition is least of their concern. The concern is to demoralize the government, demoralize Narendra Modi, come what may. That is not a right approach, I am sorry to tell you.
The other question is about the demand for Chief Minister Biren Singh to step down. Given the fact that there is a sectarian crisis in the state, the Kuki community forced into the jungles, the Maithis and the Kukis no longer living with each other as they have for many decades, and the fact that this happened on the watch of Chief Minister Biren Singh. The suggestion that if this was an opposition-ruled government, by now you would have imposed Article 356, but because this is the BJP and because this would require admitting that there's been a botch-up, therefore Biren Singh still continues as Chief Minister, whereas no reconciliation is possible till he stays on. How do you respond to this, sir?
I think I have given you a very vague situation of conflict there, which is a community conflict, festering conflict. Now, a view can be taken rightly so that by removing the Chief Minister, are you going to apply the balm or going to aggravate the festering conflict? You know, Metis and Kukis, what is happening there. In my considered view, the High Court order was completely uncalled for, which led to the whole situation of conflagration. Therefore, it is a situation, Rahul, which has to be handled with care, with caution, with considering every implication.
No, but it's interesting that you say that the High Court order is uncalled for because your government didn't take that position, Ravi Shankarji. They actually came out in support of the High Court order which said Maithis would now be a tribal community, which is what led to this conflagration, and your Chief Minister has been accused of being highly partisan in favor of the Maithi community against the Kukis.
My reply is very simple. As a student of law, I went to that indication. Okay? Ultimately, Supreme Court intervened, stayed it, let's leave it there. But I am only going into the whole gamut of the background of the situation. Therefore, again I am telling you, let us handle Manipur with care and caution. Apply the balm. And a parliamentary debate would have been the best option of consensus of bipartisan approach. But in the Rahul Gandhi Congress party in particular, bipartisan approach is something of a bygone era. You know it very well.
I'm going to leave it over there. Ravi Shankarji, thank you for joining us. The important point there that you're making, and I haven't heard this from other BJP leaders, that you don't think the High Court order which really started this off, which the local government in Manipur actually supported in a big way, you actually believe that that is fundamentally wrong, and this coming from a very eminent lawyer of the stature of Ravi Shankar Prasad. Thank you, sir. Yes. Rahul, I must clarify.
Yes. I made observations on that High Court order purely as a student of law.
No, sure, I understand that.
Because
no, of course.
There is a whole process as to how a particular then for you don't allow it to me as if I am castigating my Chief Minister. Sorry, that I didn't intend.
ठीक है, आपने बोल दिया, and people will draw their own conclusion. I'm not saying anything in the context of Biren Singh, but you're saying something about the judgment and your view on it as a prominent lawyer. Ravi Shankarji, thank you for joining us. I want to put the point that the BJP leader made to Supriya Shirnath of the Congress as she joins us. We also have Sushmita Deb from the Trinamool Congress, and we've got GVL Narasimha Rao from the Bharatiya Janata Party. Sushmita, I want to go across to Supriya Shirnath first. This point that Ravi Shankar Prasad makes, that once the debate happens, and even if the Prime Minister were to speak in whichever floor of the House this may be, the opposition is highly likely to heckle the Prime Minister, abuse the Prime Minister, seek to embarrass the Prime Minister, and therefore the BJP says there's no point in putting the Prime Minister out as the opposition is demanding, because your primary objective is to look at embarrassing him. You've done it in the past, you'll do it again.
So India's Prime Minister was elected to speak in the US Parliament. India's Prime Minister has been elected to protect and preserve and keep him away from Parliament of India. Actually, Ravi Shankar Prasad used the word humiliation. It looks like India's Prime Minister finds it humiliating to address India's Parliament, which is actually a reflection of 140 crore people who send their representatives there. Is there anything more brazen, anything more shameless, anything more embarrassing than that you have heard? Is there any explanation for the fact that the government continues to sit on its high horse? The leader of the House in the Lok Sabha, India's Prime Minister, does not want to speak in Parliament, and his government is hell-bent on giving him cover firing. I also want to raise one very important point here. The Prime Minister did not look into or talk about Manipur from day one. It took him 78 days and a horrifying video to break his silence in the middle of an 8-minute, 25-second long sentence. He spoke about Manipur for 36 seconds and drew parallels that his troll army is today drawing. India's parliament has embarrassed, India's parliament has ashamed India by putting India and placing India next to a terror organization like Indian Mujahideen and the root cause of slavery, which is the East India Company. India's parliament is meant to be respected, and India's Prime Minister continuously undermines parliament, parliamentary democracy, parliamentary traditions, and may I dare say, India itself. That's the
JVL Narasimha Rao, the strongest suit of the Prime Minister in comparison with the likes of Dr. Manmohan Singh was that here's a Prime Minister who speaks his mind. He's unafraid. Now, the opposition is using Manipur to attack the Prime Minister at his strongest, which is his ability to reach out, to convince people about his niti, about his niyat, and saying, why is he silent? And I never thought I'd see the day when clips of how Dr. Manmohan Singh used to speak are thrown at the BJP saying, देखो मनमोहन सिंह बोलते थे, आपके PM क्यों नहीं बोल रहे? Why are you allowing for this situation to pass, especially given the Prime Minister's strong public speaking skills and his ability to convince people in Manipur and across about what your government is doing?
Rahul, first of all, it's shameful for the opposition to indulge in slander and to not allow Parliament to function. If there is anyone who's humiliating India's democracy, it is a party called the Indian National Congress, founded by a Britishman, founded by an Englishman. Okay, today they might want to give sermons to the whole world. Prime Minister has spoken on a number of occasions. Whenever a situation demands, he will speak. Let me show you a story published in India today. And I think you are a very, very important media group. And you have cited 3 instances when Prime Minister Manmohan Singh spoke on demand of the opposition. But I must tell you, please read that story carefully. This was about coal scam. Manmohan had to speak. He was the coal minister when the scam happened. He was directly responsible for the coal gate. So how could he escape from not speaking? And you talk about 3 stories here. On all the 3 occasions, Manmohan Singh was directly responsible. About appointment of CVC PJ Thomas. Who did the appointment? Who was on the committee to select the CVC? It was the Prime Minister. So certainly Manmohan Singh had to reply. Here you have a situation which demands the minister, Home Minister, to speak. That is the subject matter of his ministry. And we have a very powerful Home Minister. This is a government where Prime Minister is a leader of the people. He is not a puppet of Ten Janpat.
Okay, let Sushmita Deb respond to this, that the department belongs to the Home Minister. He's a very powerful Home Minister, and therefore Amit Shah should be allowed to speak. This is happening on his watch.
First of all, Rahul, at the cost of repeating myself, nobody is saying that the Home Minister of India can't speak in Parliament. What we are asking for is the Prime Minister should start the debate and speak in Parliament. Number two, I would like to point out that Amit Shah ji, the Honorable Home Minister of India, called an all-party meeting. All the parties went and met him very recently. You've seen that. It was in the media. Apart from that, Home Minister went to Manipur for 3 days or 4 days. He said he had taken all the appropriate steps. He has met all the factions. He has met the police and the armed forces. But what came out of it? So the question is, I am sorry to say, with all due respect to Honorable Home Minister of India, please do speak in Parliament, no problem with it. But Manipur is actually a situation of such gravity that the Prime Minister should speak, because it is nothing short of a constitutional crisis. And there is absolutely no reason why a Prime Minister should shy away from a debate. In fact, if he speaks, he gives a good message to Manipur, he gives a good message to the nation, and even a better message to the opposition that he has a plan and he knows what he is doing and what he plans to do.
Also, GVL, the Prime Minister doesn't just need to speak because Supriya Shrineth or Sushmita Deb are demanding that he speak, or Kharge or Digvijay Singh or anybody else. He should speak because the people of Manipur would like to hear what the leader of this country has to say. I was speaking to our reporters before this show, and as they go out and travel across Manipur, many people are actually wanting to hear the Prime Minister. So this is not just about politics. Opposition will do oppositional politics, but the people of Manipur would also like to hear what the Indian Prime Minister has to say to them and about them.
Rahul, I think as every countryman knows, Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, is a hands-on Prime Minister. Every nook and corner of this country, every decision that the government needs to be made, he ensures that those decisions are made. And he has already spoken on an incident on that unfortunate, rather very shocking video that
but he spoke 70 plus days late.
Seen the reaction of the
he spoke after a video came out while Manipur was burning for many weeks. The Prime Minister didn't speak.
But this video, no, Rahul, as the Prime Minister, he doesn't need the counsel of anybody as to when he needs to speak, to whom he needs to speak, how does he bring a situation under control. He has the responsibility, he feels the responsibility, and he does it in the most befitting manner. We don't need some members in the opposition to really guide us on this. We have not contracted him to give us this kind of guidance. If they want, they can go and they can speak. Prime Minister will speak whenever he believes that his speaking on the subject, it does help improve the situation.
Rajat Sethi, do you think the BJP is doing the right thing by holding out on the Prime Minister speaking, or do they run the risk of turning the Prime Minister's biggest strength into seeming like a weakness?
Well, Rahul, I think it has become more of a war of narratives instead of actually resolving the issue at hand. If I, were to look at how the government as a whole machinery is operating, every arm of the government is right now in action. Right from the foreign minister, who was in the ASEAN region, he was probably in Thailand, wherein he, spoke to and met senior dignitaries of the Myanmarese government to ensure that there is strict vigilance on the border. The defense minister ensured that all the required troops from the armed forces are there, and any kind of facilities or in terms of refugee setup has to be provided. The Indian armed forces would be there. The Home Ministry has been having several rounds of discussions and briefing the Honorable Prime Minister after every round of deliberation is happening by the two opposing communities. The community leaders are being ferried to New Delhi. Look at all these arms which are working in sync with each other, and they are reporting to the Prime Minister. It's just that the Prime Minister is not obliged to come out that after every briefing that he gets to come in before the media and say that this is the briefing I got. I think he has a plan in mind wherein he is looking
at... Let Supriya Shrineth respond to what you're saying. The top ministers meeting the Myanmar junta, trying to ensure that poppy smuggling from Myanmar, arms smuggling from Myanmar is brought to stop, trying to barricade the border in Manipur and elsewhere. What needs to be done, Rajat Sethi argues, is being done. The Prime Minister needn't give the opposition ball-by-ball commentary on what he's doing. Supriya Shirne.
So there are three words that were used here by the BJP spokesperson and by the gentleman who just spoke, who happened to be the advisor. I'm presuming he's no longer the advisor to Chief Minister, would have advised him otherwise. Situation demands, only then will the Prime Minister speak. He's a very hands-on Prime Minister and he's not obliged to speak. No, sirs, he is absolutely obliged to speak. Manipur is an intrinsic part of India, a state of India that has been torn by strife and violence, where women and children, 60,000 of them, have been displaced, 142 dead. You are telling me that the Prime Minister doesn't need to take this country into confidence? You are telling me that the Prime Minister only needs to speak when a horrifying video surfaces and only for 36 seconds? You are telling me that the Prime Minister does not owe it to Parliament to speak? We are a part of parliamentary democracy. Please do not undermine the temple of democracy. And I will also tell you one more thing, Rahul. The Prime Minister chose not to speak on the anti-farmer laws. 750 farmers lost their lives. He eventually had to go back and withdraw those laws. That's the reality. The country is paying a price for the brazen arrogance and ego of the Prime Minister. ये कौन सी जिद है आपकी? आप देश के प्रधानमंत्री हैं, सदन के नेता हैं, आकर बात कीजिए. And I also want to point out one very important thing here. If you think your speaking is going to keep people quiet, it will not. The world is questioning your silence. The world is questioning that you're interested in speaking in other countries' parliament, but not your own. The reality is that Rahul Gandhi could visit Manipur, but you cannot speak a word, even appealing for peace. That's the reality of the country today. And you are
GVL Narasimha Rao, this charge that the Prime Minister addressed a joint session of Parliament in the US when he spoke to the joint session of Congress, but doesn't want to seem to do so in India when Parliament is in session. He should come forward and say, yes, I will speak. Why is this even a subject of debate?
No, Rahul, a parliament functions according to a dialogue and some amount of give and take. It does not work according to the opposition's blackmail. What the opposition wants to do is today to indulge in blackmail. And also what they are trying to do, this touching the Congress spokesperson's abiding fight in parliamentary democracy does not appear to be the slogan of Rahul Gandhi, their party leader. He goes all around the world talking down Indian democracy. He goes around the world seeking intervention of the Western countries, Western powers, in India's intervention in India's democracy, and suddenly you find great faith in Indian democracy on television debates. I think the Congress party must really tell the people whether they have faith in it or they have lost faith in it. Because you can't say, no, Rahul Gandhi goes around the world abusing India's democracy, goes around the world deriding India's democracy, and here you're giving us lessons in Indian democracy.
Supriya wants to just make a quick interjection. Supriya, 20 seconds.
Is exposing itself. We've been ready for a discussion from day one. We have been waiting for a discussion on this. What is holding the opposition back?
Please keep quiet, GVL. Because you want to discuss it under Rule 176 in a matter of 2.5 hours, and I think
you can't draw
No, Supriya, that's no longer right. The Home Minister has said he's willing under any rule for discussion for as long as is required. The Home Minister sits on the floor of the House. I heard this myself. He said, I am happy under any rule to debate as long as is required. The Home Minister said this today.
You have asked me to speak. So why does the Home Minister need to say it? Who is he trying to hide? Where is India's Prime Minister? एक राज्य जल रहा है और मोदी जी के पास वक्त नहीं है आकर. Where is he busy? What is he doing? I would like to know. He was roaming France, America, West Asia and Egypt when Manipur was burning. He knew all about it. He has intel. He has police. He has a
not on holiday. Not on
Why
holiday.
did he not speak on that? Stop giving explanations for the Prime Minister. Stop hiding the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister needs to come out and face this country. And GVL Narasimha Rao, the next time you slander Rahul Gandhi, I will throw what the Prime Minister has said to you. Indian Mujahideen. That's what he has compared India to. How dare you give us lessons on India? You are anti-Indian and anti-national. There's never
No,
been a
he's
more
compared your opposition. You're trying to hide behind.
Be quiet. You should apologize
Okay,
to
no,
this
no.
country.
Supriya, let's keep it classy. You've made an argument. Let GVL
Come on,
Narasimha Rao now
stop
respond.
this.
Let GVL respond. This charge that when you use India, Startup India, Skill India, Digital India,
Yes.
Khelo India, Make in India, New India, tab theek hai. If the opposition
agents
uses
of Indian
the acronym India, then you
Are they
start
agents of
comparing
Indian
them
Mujahideen? I would
with
like
the
to know
Indian
this.
Mujahideen. How is that fair? Let GVL Narasimha Rao respond.
हटाओ इंडिया अपने नाम से
Oh, come on,
BJP को
Supriya, you
हटाओ
made an
इंडिया अपने
argument.
नाम
Now
से।
let GVL respond. GVL.
We are having no, Supriya, don't get upset, don't lose your cool. We are having a heated debate, but maintain some dignity. You can't shout me down. You can't ask me to
I
keep
will
quiet.
lose my cool because
You
my
are
brothers and sisters in
you are
Manipur
not
are
in the chair
suffering
today,
on
nor
your
are you the anchor. Let Rahul decide, please. Okay, you have asked a question, Rahul. Let me answer this. I think nobody is digital India or India used in a positive context. It certainly fills you with pride, every citizen of this country. But just by using name India, a terrorist organization does not gain respect. Indian Mujahideen does not become acceptable because they have a India in their name. A Simi doesn't become acceptable because they have India in their name. That is what Honorable Prime Minister was referring to.
Okay, let Sushmita Deb counter this.
Faith in India's
The
democracy.
Prime Minister
And
not obviously mocking the name India, but saying just because you use India doesn't make you a great patriot. Even the Indian Mujahideen has India, even Simi has India, even the Popular Front of India has India in it. So using the name India per se doesn't change anything. That's the argument GVL says the PM is making. Sushmita Deb.
Yes.
See, first of all,
Yes.
just because our party has an alliance called National Democratic Alliance doesn't change the fact that in the history of India is the most undemocratic party that this country has seen. So this can go about, but what is proved today by Prime Minister Modi talking about the new alliance formed by the opposition parties is the BJP is rattle, that he had to address it. And I want to tell GVL that India, the alliance, has a full form too. And number two, we don't need a certificate from Prime Minister Modi about what is patriotic and who's patriotic and what India stands for. Northeast Democratic Alliance in Northeast is now popularly called Northeast Disaster Alliance. Look at what happened in Mizoram today. Have you seen the number of people that have taken to the streets? Do you know how sensitive the states of Northeast are? They have undone, the BJP has undone the Northeast, what we have done over the last 70 years as a nation to bring back peace to Northeast. That's what the Prime Minister should be talking about.
I want to go
Prime
across
Minister who
to
campaigns relentlessly in every state election doesn't want to speak in Parliament about a state line. There's no justification.
BJP's electoral success and the development that you've done in the Northeast was one of the BJP's big achievements. Are you concerned, GVL, that what we've seen over the past 90 days undoes some of what you've been trying to do in the Northeast and could be problematic in the elections next year?
No, Rahul, we are not even looking at that electoral dynamics now. We certainly have a challenging situation in Manipur, and it's nothing. Honestly, this region was had such problems in the past, and for 70 years there was no development. A friend from Trinamool Congress is claiming a lot of development has happened. No. The people of Northeast are experiencing development only in the last 9 years. Sushmita, which development are you talking about? Which there have been accords with practically there has been peace all over Northeast over the last 9 years. But certainly,
this has happened on your watch, which is the point I'm making, that Manipur now undoes some of the good work that you've done in the Northeast.
Northeast.
Okay, I want to go across to
But
Rahul
you
Sriva.
see, Rahul, people
I mean,
do
does
understand.
GVL
People
know
of
that
Manipur
whatever
and rest of
Rahul has been sounding,
it's
the problem with BJP and RSS is y'all know nothing about Northeast. You just treat
no,
it
but
as
the
a-
real
as a-
peace,
as a
the real
seasonal
peace was established in Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram,
I want to go across to Rahul
Tripura,
Srivastava, National Affairs Editor. Rahul, you've got the opposition making the demand that the Prime Minister speak and nothing less is acceptable. The Home Minister now willing for a long discussion, willing to speak himself. That doesn't seem to be satisfying the opposition. Is there a possibility that there will be a way out tomorrow, the day after? Or are we looking at a washout in the monsoon session?
Rahul, the opposition has found a strategy to get the Prime Minister to speak. Now that the demands of Prime Minister speaking did not succeed. See, primarily, Rahul, one should understand that the rule book does not say that the Prime Minister needs to speak on issues. It is the concerned ministry. If there is a question asked, Home Minister. But yes, it has been a precedent in the past and a tradition that Prime Minister do speak. Manmohan Singh, who did not have a lot of political authority in his party, spoke some 60 odd times on various reasons. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, largely more on motion of thanks for President, addressing while there are some issues like election of Speaker, Deputy Speaker, 30 odd times. The fact is that the Prime Minister is not duty-bound to speak on issues which are concerns of different ministry. But the fact remains that the opposition, struggling for so long to get the Prime Minister to speak, has found a strategy. It's most likely a draft is ready. Most likely tomorrow a no-confidence motion can be moved before 10 a.m. because if it needs to get listed or the Speaker has to take an opinion on decision on it, no confidence motion gets moved
But that's
tomorrow
largely
morning
symbolic.
by the opposition party.
The no confidence motion, the last time it came was in 2003
But
when
Rahul,
Atal Bihari
that
Vajpayee
will
was
make
in
the
government.
Prime
That will
Minister
get
speak.
hammered in Parliament.
Yes, Rahul, they are not looking at the numeric triumph in this. They are planning that if there is a no confidence motion, the Prime Minister has to speak because it is a no confidence motion against the government we
No, but
lead.
is the chair then duty bound to accept the no confidence motion? He can reject the no confidence motion.
Rahul, usually it takes a certain amount of time that if there has been no confidence motion 6 months, the government has proved its majority 6 months ago, then definitely it can be rejected. But if 50 odd members do sign a no confidence motion, it will be a tough ask for the speaker to justify why he is rejecting. So the idea is not a numeric strength, but to get the Prime Ministers to speak and pin the blame of Manipur and a lapse in Manipur and law and order in the country on the Prime Minister. That's the ploy. I think that's where the opposition is going tomorrow. And one will
Is
decide
that what
in
you want to
case
do,
there is-
Supriya Shrineth? Press for a no confidence motion, even though the numbers are heavily loaded in the BJP's favor, because that then becomes the reason for the Prime Minister to have to speak at some point.
I think this country needs to hear its Prime Minister. There's a Prime Minister who occupies that chair, a Prime Minister who was democratically elected, a Prime Minister who may have abdicated his duty right now, but Manipur is burning, and whatever makes him speak, I think strategists in Parliament and my more senior colleagues are going to decide on that. But I think India deserves to hear its Prime Minister who hasn't spoken on Manipur, barring the 36 seconds that he spoke in the middle of an 8-minute, 25-second speech that he made outside
GVL
Parliament.
Narasimha Rao, does this no confidence motion bother you? The fact that they're just upping the ante in a way that they're trying to tell their voters and those who are on the fence that the Prime Minister is running away, and this is a perception you don't want should get built. You in fact want to counter this completely. Is this no confidence motion something that the Speaker will accept? How do you see this, GVL?
Rahul, I think the opposition has the opportunity to use several such instruments. If they indeed move such a motion, I think they are actually shooting themselves in the foot. I personally think it would be a big astronomical blunder if they indeed go ahead and do this. I think it will be a huge blessing in disguise for us, and I'm hoping that they will take such a
the other thing that can happen, Sushmita Dev, you do a new confidence motion, it gets accepted, and then the opposition gets hammered. You lose the no confidence motion so badly, and then the BJP, GVL, Ravi Shankarji, everyone says, see, We have the confidence of the House, we have the confidence of the people, the opposition just making this big song and dance. They were trying to play politics, they've been beaten.
You know, Rahul, all you have to do is take Mr. GVL's and the Ravi Shankar Prasads of the BJP and please go to Manipur and see the total lack of confidence that the people of Manipur have in the Chief Minister of Manipur, the Home Minister of India and the Prime Minister of India. They have spoken out. The BJP MLAs of Manipur have spoken out against their own party, own Prime Minister and own Chief Minister. That's the lack of confidence people of Manipur have in this government of India and the government of Manipur. That's what Ravi Shankar Prasad and GVL should be worried about. Just because they have a brute majority in parliament, it doesn't mean it's something permanent and neither does it mean that it exists in Manipur, and you can rest assured about that.
Okay, I'm going to leave it over there for the time being. We'll track what happens in Parliament very closely. These political fireworks, some of them should really be happening in Parliament. We have a high-level back and forth. Let's see what happens in Parliament with this no-confidence motion, if it does indeed get moved. Before I slip into a break, I want to tell our viewers that tomorrow at 8 p.m. is when we'll get you an exclusive Jab We Met with Nick Clegg. He's the global president for public affairs at Meta, Facebook. And he's speaking about artificial intelligence, regulating AI. He's speaking about threads. He's speaking about, keeping kids safe on Instagram. He's talking about whether Meta has the ability to do innovation. Are they just copying, whether it's Reels, whether it's Shorts, or whether it's Threads. So a lot of that coming up in that exclusive conversation with the global president of Meta on the Newstrack at 8 p.m. tomorrow. About that cage match, as somebody looking at it, what's your wager? Is that a metaphor?
Oh my gosh, I've only got one answer if it happens. Of course, Mark Zuckerberg will win, and he's super fit, and he's really into fitness. He's really into these sports, into Brazilian jiu-jitsu and MMA, and so on. Yeah, but listen, I think I don't know. I don't do it myself, but I think a lot of this is about technique, not just about size. Whether it'll actually happen or not, I honestly I don't know.
Primarily launched for domestic transactions, but now it has extended its scope to include international transactions for Indians as well as NRIs. All you need is to have a bank account linked to a UPI-enabled mobile app. The app could be provided by Bheem, your bank, or a third-party app. The good part is earlier NRIs needed an Indian mobile number to set up a UPI ID, but now NRIs can even use their international mobile number to initiate a transaction. Now, how does UPI work abroad? You first need to provide the recipient's bank account number, bank identifier code, and select the currency to transfer the amount. The UPI app then sends the transaction details to your bank for authorization. The bank verifies the user's detail, checks for sufficient funds, and approves the transaction if all requirements are met. The important point to note is that the international transaction involves currency conversion. The UPI app also uses the prevailing exchange rate to convert the amount to the destination currency. The converted amount is displayed to the user before confirming the transaction. Last but not least, the availability of UPI international transactions may vary across apps and banks. Some banks and apps may have more tie-ups with international banking partners, while others have limitations or restrictions on certain countries or transaction types. Therefore, it is advisable to check with your respective bank or UPI app providers for detailed information on international UPI transactions.
Thanks for that, Tina.
You're on board the Newstrack. Monsoon mayhem is wreaking havoc in the south now, and Karnataka is one of the worst hit states. There's a flood-like situation in several coastal areas. Persistent heavy rainfall has disrupted normal life in the region, with many low-lying areas now submerged.
First, it was Himalayan states, then the national capital, followed by the Western India. And now it is the southern states that are bearing the brunt of nature's fury, with Karnataka being the worst affected. Several rivers in the state, including the Kaveri, are in spate due to incessant rainfall. In Kodagu, the Bhagamandala temple, a pilgrimage site for Hindus, is marooned by the overflowing Kaveri.
Bhagamangala temple is one of the most historic and ancient temples in Kodagu that attracts hundreds and thousands of tourists every year. And this is the situation, the road that actually leads to the Bhagamangala temple that is completely washed off by Kaveri river.
Water level in Harangi Dam has risen significantly, prompting officials to open all gates.
I'm standing at the Harangi Dam, which is located near Hudugur village, which is also next to Kushal Nagar. You know, the water level in this dam has significantly increased to the point that the dam is almost full. And as a result of this, the rate of outflow has also been sufficiently increased. It stands at about 8,000 cusecs. And as you can see the visual on your screens, all 4 crest gates have been opened up.
The district administration is on its toes as fears of floods increase.
The rains have been good till now. Landslides, no major landslides have taken place as of now. And not much of house damages also. They are partial in nature. And somewhere in the last 48 hours only, there are some places where the water has come up to the road level, and probably road is also not visible, but everything is under control till now.
In Udupi, a man slipped and fell into Arishinagundi waterfalls. Other parts of Karnataka, including Chikamagaluru, Dakshina Kannada and Hubli too, are reeling under tremendous rainfall. In Dakshina Kannada, images of students passing through knee-level water to attend pre-university exams are going viral. The Met Department says coastal Karnataka is expected to receive heavy rainfall in the upcoming days. Schools in several districts, including Uttara Kannada, Kodagu, Udupi and Dakshina Kannada, are shut on Tuesday. As Karnataka faces nature's fury, Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar visited BBMP War Room and took stock of the situation. Over the last 2 years, parts of IT city have faced extreme flooding and state government hopes to avoid a repeat. With Anagha Keshav, Bureau Report, India Today.
This is where I wrap up the Newstrack tonight. We'll track the no confidence motion if the opposition does indeed decide to bring it tomorrow morning. Thank you for your time and your trust. Rajdeep Sardesai comes up next with News Today.
While this diet soda can be your once in a while sort of an alternative if you're having a craving for a sugary drink, this certainly isn't healthy. This is not your alternative to sodas, to regular sodas. Diet sodas have their own set of problems. So if you feel like having an iced drink, go for the old-fashioned drinks. Have water, have milk for example, also fresh fruit juices. not the ones that come in a Tetra pack. The other problem here is aspartame. Diet sodas contain this ingredient associated with anxiety. The US Food and Drug Administration approved aspartame as a sweetener in the year 1981. When consumed, aspartame becomes aspartic acid. When consumed, aspartame can have the potent effect on the central nervous system, says the study. Now, this study that followed more than 1 lakh adults for about a decade is among the largest to date to identify cardiovascular health problems associated with sugar substitutes. Overall, artificial sweeteners were associated with increase in cardiovascular disease.
There have been question marks about safety of artificial sweeteners since the beginning, and there were some studies which show increased cancer with the saccharin, and subsequently number of other studies have been done which show that there may be some risk. But overall, if you take artificial sweeteners in limited amount, once a day or maybe twice a day for a limited period of time, it is not going to do any harm. But recent data show that if it is taken for a prolonged period, they increase risk for heart disease as well as stroke.
So if white sugar is completely out, artificial sweeteners not your best option, what must be your alternatives then?
The best replacement of refined sugars are dates, jaggery, honey, dried fruits like dried apricot, plum, peaches, figs, and many more.
About that cage match, as somebody looking at it, what's your wager? Is that a metaphor?
Oh my gosh, I've only got one answer if it happens. Of course, Mark Zuckerberg will win, and he's super fit, and he's really into you know, fitness, is really into these sports, into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA and so on. Yeah, but listen, I think, I don't know, I don't do it myself, but I think a lot of this is about technique, not just about size. Whether it'll actually happen or not, I honestly, I don't know.
One of the best apps available right now for digital detox is certainly Flipped. You can join groups with people and give each other challenges just like on other apps. With this digital detox app, you can customize how much screen time you spend each day. All social networking apps will disappear after the timer expires for the specified period of time, but calls and messages will still be functional. The Flipped app is designed to increase your productivity. For instance, when you're studying for an exam, to improve attention and relaxation, you can use the relaxing soundtracks that are already included with the app. The tunes on the app are lovely, with sounds that range from crackling fires and even mild rain. Number 5. Well, this one isn't an app, but if you use an iPhone, then this is a nifty feature. Focus mode, and I'm using it right now. By switching on this mode, you can shut down your work apps for the weekend, turn off notifications when you're working or even sleeping. You can decide when to get email notifications and when you want to take specific calls, etc. It's like a much more effective and specific D&D mode that you can use for work or play. Couple that with screen time notifications telling you you've been spending way too much time on Instagram, and it changes the user experience altogether. So there you go, my top 5 ways to ensure technology augments my daily routine but also lets me live under a rock when I need to. That's me signing off, and we hope you stay safe and that these tips come in handy.
Hey Danish, these India Today people want to do a show on Independence Day, it seems. You heard of what?
Oh, okay. What about it? What am I supposed to do?
Wait, I can't do a full suspense reveal right now, but they're still doing the lineup, but they want a singer for it.
Hey, superb. You know what? I know someone. Let me get him on the call.
Danish, what ra? What? India Today. What show ra?
Okay, 1 second. We have a singer, but we also need a dancer.
Ishna Kutte. You're not heard, huh? You check her Instagram, ra.
Ooh, that sounds like fun. Does this work?
Since we're all expressing, I think we should also have her on board.
But what do we all have in common though?
Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist. Co-presented by JK Tyre Ranger Series, stay wild at heart. Co-powered by Watcho OTT Super App, One Hai To Done Hai. Co-powered by the new Kia Seltos, the badass reborn. Co-powered by Sera, this is your space, play it your way.
Good evening. Tonight, more horrific details coming out over the violence in Manipur. We'll have eyewitness accounts of the violence that's taken place against women. And my question will be, will women leaders speak out in one voice against what's happening there? Also, our 9 headlines at 9 first. Union Home Minister Amit Shah says centre ready for a debate on Manipur, has nothing to hide. Sources claim the India alliance to move a no-confidence motion against the Modi government in Parliament on Wednesday. Manipur government partially lifts the internet ban in the strife-torn state. 7 accused arrested so far over the viral sexual assault video from Manipur. Government plans a counter to award Wapsi. Parliamentary panel recommends that recipients be made to sign an undertaking. Says don't make awards a political tool. Congress versus Congress in Karnataka. 20 MLAs write to Chief Minister Siddaramaiah over ministers not responding to requests for funds. DK Shivkumar claims it's a plot to destabilize the government that's been hatched in Singapore with the JDS BJP behind it. Former Haryana Minister Gopal Kanda acquitted in a case of abetment to suicide against Kanda's I.N.D.I.A Airlines employee Geetika. Victim's family claims case was politically manipulated. NSA Ajit Doval holds a key meet with newly appointed China Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Doval tells China to build strategic trust. Says India is ready to work on the border row. Chandrayaan-3 completes a 5th orbit-raising maneuver. Slingshot to the moon planned on August 1st, going as per schedule. Amid suspense over his disappearance from the public eye, China removes King Gang as foreign minister, replaced by former foreign affairs spokesperson Wang Yi. India's women cricket team captain Harmanpreet Kaur suspended for the next 2 international matches, fined 25% of her fee for openly criticizing the umpire during a recent match against Bangladesh. But let's tell you the story that's breaking at the moment. Parliament, which has been in a logjam, is now set for a complete showdown in the next few days. The opposition has decided to move a no-confidence motion against the Modi government. That's according to sources. The opposition will move a no-confidence motion against the Modi government. This comes on a day when the Union Cabinet has just cleared the Delhi Ordinance Bill, a bill that would provide powers to the centre to appoint civil servants in the national capital, opposed by the AAP.
The centre has decided to go ahead in the cabinet. It's been cleared. It will now be brought for passage in Parliament, starting with the Rajya Sabha, where the BJP is hoping to get the required number. So clearly the BJP is unrelenting, and so is the opposition when it plans now a no confidence motion. So that's the big story that's coming in at the moment. Paulomi Saha, my colleague Joyce B, she's been tracking both those stories. Paulomi, am I right in saying that we could see a showdown now in Parliament? We've had a logjam for the first few days of this monsoon session over Manipur. Now it appears opposition planning no confidence motion, government planning to push through with the contentious ordinance bill.
Absolutely, Rajdeep. The gloves are off on both sides. The opposition is already preparing a draft for a no confidence motion, which they want to move against the centre. They do realize that as far as the government is concerned, it is poised very well as far as the numbers stack up in its favour. But they believe that in terms of a perception, this could possibly compel the Prime Minister to speak if there was a no confidence motion which was moved against the government. And if he did speak then on the Manipur issue, it would then send out a message that he is running away, quote unquote, as the opposition hopes the perception will go out from this very sensitive discussion. And hence they're working on that draft at the moment. The opposition will be meeting in Parliament House at 10 a.m. Tomorrow morning as well. They have to submit a notice at the Lok Sabha Secretary General's office before 10 a.m. Unlikely it could possibly happen tomorrow itself, but this week is when they're hoping they'll have those 50 signatures of MPs in order to move that motion against the government. And as far as the government is concerned, what they're looking at very clearly right now is that there is a logjam. The opposition is unrelenting. Amit Shah today has written to Mallikarjun Kharge and Adhiranjan Chaudhary as well. There was a meeting earlier with the Speaker as well, where opposition MPs were present, and they were still steadfast on their demand that the Prime Minister make a statement in Parliament before, of course, a discussion takes place. But the centre sees that it's going to be unrelenting on that. The opposition will be unrelenting, and the centre is unwilling to give in to their demand. They are very clear that the Home Minister will reply to any such discussion. In a situation where that logjam continues, the centre now is very clear that it has listed 31 bills for passage in this session of Parliament, and it will be pushing through with those bills in Parliament. Today itself in Lok Sabha, 2 bills were passed, 2 very crucial bills at that were passed. Already the ordinance, which of course the Delhi Services Ordinance, which the bill translating that ordinance has been approved by the Cabinet this evening. It will be brought to Parliament in this monsoon session as well. So the government now is going to push forth with its legislative agenda.
Okay. Paulomi Saha, with those details, government pushing ahead with its legislative agenda, the opposition intent on ensuring that the Prime Minister responds inside Parliament on Manipur. Speaking of Manipur, Home Minister Amit Shah said that the government is not afraid of a discussion on Manipur. He says we have nothing to hide. Amit Shah now tells the opposition, he's written to them as well, people are watching you. He's written to Mallikarjun Kharge, Adhiranjan Chaudhary of the Congress, claiming that the government is ready for debate and appealing to the opposition to cooperate in Parliament. Listen in to what Amit Shah said.
मैंने आज दोनों सदन के विपक्ष के नेता को पत्र लिखा है कि कितनी भी लंबी चर्चा के लिए मैं तैयार हूं। सरकार को कोई डर नहीं है। चर्चा जिसको करनी है मणिपुर पर, वो चर्चा करने आए। हमें कुछ छुपाना नहीं है। हमने दोनों विपक्ष के नेताओं को मैंने आज पत्र लिखा है। मैं कहता हूं कि जनता आपको देख रही है। चुनाव में जाना है, जनता के खौफ को ध्यान में रखें और मणिपुर जैसे संवेदनशील इश्यू पर चर्चा के लिए उचित माहौल सदन में बनाइए।
Okay, Amit Shah saying government ready for discussion, but no clarity whether Prime Minister Mr. Modi is ready to speak on Manipur. And this on a state, remember, which has seen terrible ethnic violence. More than 140 people have died, and many of them are women. In fact, more and more cases are coming out of women's safety being compromised after the May 4th naked video shocker that went viral. These chilling stories are coming to fore, this time of gang rapes and women even as old as 80 being burnt to death. Our reporters, Ritvik and Ashutosh, are on ground zero. They bring you the chilling horror of Manipur files.
Days after a video of two Kuki Zomi tribal women being stripped naked and paraded went viral, more horror stories are coming out of Manipur. On May 4th, the victims belonged to the Kuki Zomi tribal community.
On that 4 evening, when that accident happened, that ladies walk in the car wash. So when the problem got started, her mother ring up twice, but she did not pick up the phone. But the last moment, one lady's Métis woman picked the phone. Whether you want your daughter alive or dead, she said to her mother. At that moment, they put up the phone.
The mother of one of the victims filed a complaint. An FIR was registered on May 16th. The FIR says the women aged 21 and 24 were at a rented house when a mob entered their room and allegedly raped them before killing them.
They were tortured to death, and there are another girl from your same village, right?
Mm-hmm. The two girls worked together in a Gama car wash. So the two were killed in the same day.
There are horror stories from both sides of the Meitei-Kuki divide. An 80-year-old widow of a freedom fighter from the majority Meitei community was locked inside her house and set on fire by an armed group in Kakching district.
उस दिन जब हमला हुआ, माँ को क्यों छोड़ कर आए थे? क्या उन्होंने बोला था या फिर वो चल नहीं पा रही थी?
माँ तो मॉर्निंग का और कुकी मैराथन में आया है, घर भी सभी भी है और घर भी अब सब अग्नि है,
जला दिया।
The fault lines run deep. These women from the Meitei community have put up barricades and built temporary bunkers to safeguard their territory near the Kuki-dominated areas.
As I pass through this Imphal stretch, which is a particular stretch divides the entire territory between Kuki-dominated territory and the Meiteis. And what I see here, women have taken charge here on the street, not only guarding their territory, but also maintaining these barriers, these barricades, where every vehicles are being frisked by these women. And the only reason is that they want safety of their families, their children, and these women, despite that many of them have been victim of the violence, they are standing tall against all odds.
हाँ, डर तो डर है ना, डर हो गया तो हम लोग तो मेरा my village, my children, my family protection करता है ना, डर हो गया तो हम लोग तो सब मर गया तो क्या करेगा, डर हो गया तो हम सब उसके mother looks ने आ गया ना.
With Ritik Mondal, Indrajit Kundu and Ashutosh, Bureau Report, India Today.
So as I said, on the ground, women are the soft targets. In fact, remember, it was that horrific video of two women who were paraded naked in Manipur on the 4th of May that finally woke up the political system in this country. So the images that you are seeing on your screen in a way reflect what's gone wrong in Manipur. Now, angry women protesters taking to the street, raising slogans against Manipur police, demanding action and accountability. They were calling the horrific rape incident a national shame. Protesting women have also sought Chief Minister N. Singh's resignation. But here too there is a divide. The Kuki women are the ones who are targeting the Chief Minister, even as the Meitei Paibis, the mothers of Manipur, are standing firmly behind the Chief Minister and supporting him. So you're seeing that divide taking place on the ground as well. Let me raise those questions. Are women the most affected by the violence we are seeing in Manipur at the moment? Will the perpetrators of these kind of gang rapes and mass violence get away? Will women leaders speak out in one voice, or will they be also divided on party lines? These are some of the questions I will raise. I'm joined by Khani Mori, the DMK MP in Parliament, by Mihira Sood, advocate at the Supreme Court. Beena Lakshmi Nepram is someone from Manipur who has been taking up the cause of women caught up in conflict. And Flavia Agnes, women rights activist and lawyer, joins me from Mumbai. Appreciate all of you joining us. Let me come to you, Beena Lakshmi, since you've been speaking the strongest over a long period of time about women caught up in the conflict zone of the Northeast. What we've seen in the last few months, gang rapes, molestations, and of course that horrific video of women being paraded naked. I want to understand from you today, do you believe that we have seen the entire truth, or more is to come? Do you fear that women are even more likely to be victimized in the days and months ahead?
Absolutely, Rajdeep. Women have been caught in the crossfire in Manipur's conflict for more than 4 to 5 decades. Sexual violence in conflict has been happening since the year 1970s, when a Naga woman was raped actually by an Indian major, and she committed suicide. Her name was Rose. There was also a horrific rape of a woman, a Meitei woman called Jaubi, was raped in front of her disabled son by the Central Reserve Police Force. We have cases of non-state armed groups also, sexually assaulted women. And then we have the most known case of Iche Thangja Manorama, was raped and extrajudicially killed in the year 2004, which led the mothers of Manipur do that Kangla protest. And now, on what happened in May, what happened to our Kuki Zomi sisters of this horrific rape, parading them naked and stripping their dignity, which has stripped the dignity of every Manipuri and has been one of the darkest times in our history. So this has been a pattern which has been happening persistently and consistently for the last several years. Manipur, many of you think that people in Manipur, women are very liberated. Yes, we are. We have the world's oldest women's market, Imam market. We have given Mary Kom to the world. We have this amazing Nupi Lal of 1904 and 1939 against British. But we must not forget that this is a very patriarchal society. Right now, Manipur is in a state of siege under 60 armed insurgent groups. We have 60 armed insurgent groups. Over 100,000 army operating there. Women are caught between the guns of the state and the non-state. Kuki women, Naga women, Meitei women, women across, we have been caught between the guns of the state and the non-state for several years.
But are women also on the ground divided? Because we get reports of the Meitei Paibes, or the mothers of Manipur, as you call them, who are in a way standing up for the Meitei identity and seeing themselves as protectors of the Meitei community. Are they as angered by what they've seen happening to their Kuki sisters? You're saying Manipuri sisters, but let's be honest. The truth of the matter is, when ethnic violence takes place, you have Meitei women also being pitted against Kuki women. Why aren't we seeing more outrage among Meitei women to what happened to the Kuki women when they were stripped naked in that village?
Absolutely. Manipuri mothers, women of Manipur, and women across the Northeast have strongly condemned this horrific crime which has happened to our Kokizo sisters. The houses of the perpetrators have been burned to the ground, and women Manipuris have come out in protest in strongly unequivocal terms. But as I mentioned, because of the existence of 60 armed insurgent groups, many of them are also carrying out certain dictates at gunpoint. This is something that I've been observing for over several years. And as a result, it is important for women, Kuki women, Meitei women, to come together and say that violence against women, because in any conflict, Rajdeep, women if 80% of the casualties and the victims are women and children. As a result, that's why we started the Northeast India Women Initiative for Peace to ensure, and there we had Kuki women, Meitei women, Naga women, Assamese women, Mizo women, all together we have had four
But in
Northeast
this
India
instance,
women
are
in this
Meitei
congregation.
women speaking out as Meiteis first? That's the point. Are they speaking out as Meiteis first? We're getting reports from the ground of how the Meitei Paibis are organizing their own blockades, claiming to be protectors. That's the point, Bina Lakshmi. Are they speaking as Meiteis or Manipuri women?
Yes, they are speaking, Rajdeep, as Manipuri women. In this conflict, which has been engineered, as I told on day one of your show, this conflict, which has been engineered, has literally succeeded to pit one community against another. And as a result, women are also made to be divided amongst this. So at this particular juncture, we are at a critical time in our history where there is, Rajdeep, a slow genocide going on. A slow genocide. This is definitely a women's issue, but this is also a issue of national security, an issue of the safety and security of every woman, child, and young person in the state of Manipur. Because today, as the body of a 17-year-old woman she disappeared, Linthong Ngambi, has not been found. So as a result, there's a lot of several people who have disappeared in this particular conflict, many of them young girls. The bodies have not been found, several cases, because some of them don't want to talk about it. So I think rather than pitting one community against another, one woman against another, I think, Rajib, it's time for the women of Manipur and the women of our country and all concerned citizens to ensure that today the parliament has been screaming for 3 days, but no solution. No solutions. It's day number 81, 82 of this violence. And there's not been a single peace talk. By the way, number one. Number two, there are 17 peace talks happening in the northeast of India, and not a single woman is in it. So women have been excluded from decision making. We are never been made to be seen as full humans in our part of our country. So I hope this incident is a wake-up call that justice be done to our sisters and that every one of us unite. I myself, Rajdeep, have been targeted. The violence is not just on the ground. My face was morphed over a naked body and made viral by a certain community. I have been targeted time and again. I don't want to make it personal.
Your face was morphed on social media?
Yes, and put on a naked body and call it naked women. It's going viral. So we have been targeted, women, and some of us who have been speaking out, we have been caricatured violently. Over this past 3 weeks, Rajiv, I have just kept silent because for me, it's not about me, but it's ensuring that peace returns in the hills and valley of Manipur. My heart weeps for 3.3 million Manipuris, that today, such a beautiful state, a multi-ethnic, multicultural, has been divided. Kukis and Meiteis, I told you several times, have never fought in our history. And why is it that this conflict, again, very clear, 2024 elections, please stop playing politics on the bodies of women of Manipur. We say this to the men of Manipur, both of hills and the valley. They have destroyed us. They have destroyed our community. So we as women, as I mentioned, that we will have to stand united.
Right.
We have to speak that enough is enough to end these crimes and violence against women.
Let me for a moment, Bina Lakshmi saying how her images have been morphed on social media. It's part of what women are facing increasingly in times of conflict. Kanimori, we are hearing these repeated instances of crimes against women, stories coming out as we just reported of gang rapes. A video of women being stripped naked and paraded in a village last week went viral. Are women, in your view, becoming targets? Are women the soft targets? And more importantly, should our women MPs be speaking out, cutting across party lines in one voice?
Raksip, it's always the case that historically also, when every time there is a war or conflict among people, it's always the women and children who are, targeted, and they become very easy targets. And especially when it becomes conflict among groups or ethnic conflicts or conflicts based on religion, then it is always the woman who is affected the most, and they are I mean what society thinks as shaming them is what they try to do, and that is their way of taking revenge on a community. So this is the pattern which has always happened, and it's very sad that at this day and age we still use these weapons against women and in conflicts. And this is why we've been saying time and again that you cannot create rift among people on the basis of ethnic clashes or religious politics. You cannot sow seeds of hatred among people, and it can never be taken back that easily.
But
and what happened was unbelievable. It's shaken the conscience of the entire nation. The whole world is shocked by what happened. And yet, the BJP and the Prime Minister refuse to speak about it.
You just mentioned, the Prime Minister is not speaking in Parliament, BJP, you claim, is not speaking in Parliament. But my question is, why can't the women across party lines raise it? Why can't you, Smriti Irani, Supriya Sule, Mahua Moitra, all our voluble women MPs stand up, speak in one voice? What stops you from raising your voice as one pressure group?
I think Supriya Sule, Kanimori, Mahua Moitra, all of us are speaking in one voice. It is just that Smriti Irani refuses to reply to the questions we have. It would be ideal, and it is the right thing that all of us, it doesn't have to be women MPs alone. We speak about other issues. Why should only women talk about what happens? It's violence. And I think everybody should speak, and human beings should speak in one voice against atrocities like this. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be happening. The Prime Minister chooses to speak outside Parliament, just outside Parliament, on the day the Parliament starts, to the press. But he refuses to come and speak to the parliamentarians.
Interesting. Just let's listen in for a moment to what Smriti Irani said, and then I'll come to you, Meera Sood and Flavia Agnes, in a moment. Why is Smriti Irani, Women and Child Development Minister, not speaking out more loudly on what we've seen in Manipur? Why did it require a viral video for her to speak up? And what's her view on the opposition? Listen in to what she had said.
राष्ट्र के गृह मंत्री श्री अमित शाह ने कल सदन में इस प्रस्ताव को रखा, इस निवेदन को रखा कि मणिपुर संबंधित घटनाओं के ऊपर वो चर्चा चाहते हैं, जवाब देना चाहते हैं। आप सब जानते हैं आंतरिक सुरक्षा का जो दायित्व है वो अमित शाह जी के अंतर्गत आता है। जब राष्ट्र के गृह मंत्री स्वयं बार बार विपक्ष से ये दरख्वास्त कर रहे हैं कि वो सदन में चर्चा करें, तो ऐसा क्या है मणिपुर के बारे में जो विपक्ष नहीं चाहता राष्ट्र के सम्मुख प्रस्तुत हो चर्चा के दौरान।
Smriti Irani virtually throwing the ball in Amit Shah's court when it comes to a response on Manipur. But Meera Sood, it's one thing who speaks in Parliament and who doesn't. The real question is accountability and the dignity of women. We've seen 7 arrests taking place for the horrific parading of women naked in a village in Manipur. Do you believe that there will be prosecutions, or once the cameras switch away, the attention moves away, cases like this, where FIRs originally are filed against unknown persons, will often not result in speedy prosecutions?
Rajdeep, this depends entirely on political will, unfortunately, because particularly in cases where they've become very publicized, where it is seen as a failure of the state government, where it is an ethnic clash and you have a majoritarian government at the center, it does become a political issue. And frankly, this is patriarchy 101. Women are always targeted in any kind of ethnic or communal violence because they are seen as the prized possession of men, and this is seen as the best way to humiliate and dishonor the men of that community. Women are seen as chattel here, who are used to humiliate and dishonor men of another community. And even in answer to your question, why are women being divided? I think this too is unfortunately sometimes very successful project of patriarchy to, shame women into their other identities and protecting their other identities, whether it is a communal, ethnic, political party or any other identity, and to shame women into saying, you need to stand up for this, you are more than just a woman. That is unfortunately a way kind of feminist language has been weaponized by patriarchy, and telling women you are more than just women as a way of getting them to stand for other causes and diminishing their identity as women and preventing female solidarity across the board. And so this too is, as I said, it's patriarchy 101.
But are you saying that it is difficult to prosecute these cases? Are you saying that, we've because this video has gone viral, there's been a lot of attention, but we've just reported today another case where witnesses have come out and spoken of a gang rape and murder. In cases like that, do you believe that it is easy to prosecute? Or
prosecution is done by the police, and the police come under the state government. Rajdeep, you can put 2 and 2 together.
Given what we've just heard, Flavia Agnes, putting 2 and 2 together, are you, as someone who's been a women's activist for years, taken up these cases, do you feel a sense of helplessness? We saw it, we've seen it in case of mass violence in this country. Whenever there are cases of mass violence, women are often the worst sufferers, but prosecution in many of these cases, Mumbai, Gujarat, Muzaffarnagar, you will find women do not get justice.
Absolutely, and women have become soft targets. They bear the community honor on their bodies, and violating them becomes a violation of the entire community. Now we are grown up with these patriarchal values, and everybody has internalized them. So every time, whether it is Surat, whether it is Ahmedabad, whether it is Bombay, wherever the riots have taken place, there has always been sexual abuse of women and abuse of children that goes on.
No, witnesses, we've seen a pattern of witnesses turning hostile.
At all, and we are not moving forward. Yes, absolutely. Witnesses not only turning hostile, but also the women are instigating the men. Women are provoking the men, women are instigating the men to rape the women from one community to the other. So this is very shocking thing. And it's very disturbing that rather than uniting on the gender lines, you are divided ethnic lines, family lines, community lines, and your affiliation and your alignment is there, and not with your other women from the other community. And this is, according to me, is the major problem. This has been a problem every time we have intervened in any kind of conflict situation on behalf of women. And we feel very pained at this situation where women as a community, women as a gender class are not able to unite together and stop this sexual abuse of other women from other community.
That is, Beena Lakshmi, something which is deeply troubling. I raised this issue with you. The fact is that when society in Manipur is getting divided between Kukis and Meiteis at the moment, women too are subject to the same divide. So women in a way are not, there is no unified protest that has taken place in Manipur after the viral video where women across the communal divide are standing up and saying enough is enough. Why not? Why aren't they standing up? Is it fear?
Rasdeep, first of all, this absolutely, this is wrong for anyone to instigate anyone to commit any heinous crimes against women and children, against humanity, against the elderly. It's wrong and it's strongly condemned. This must be loud and clear. Number 2 is the fact that has been a climate of impunity, Rajdeep. There has been a climate of impunity has been existing in conflict zones of northeast of India and Manipur for the last several years. 11 men who committed the sexual rape and killing of Thangjan Norma, tell me, not even one has been arrested, not even a single person has been arrested. This climate of impunity has led men in our part of the world to think that they can do anything they like. In fact, it's time that the laws and the policies during the Justice Verma, during the Delhi gang rape issue, we submitted special recommendations to the Justice Reform Committee, which had asked, please take care of Manipur because of the case of rape at gunpoint happening there. Rape at gunpoint. There has been, as I said, so women of Manipur want to be united, but this war has divided. Look at the bunkers, look at the barbed wires in which women's identities and we have been weaponized by the men. So first of all, it's incumbent on those men who are warring and killing each other to lay down their arms, to enable the women of Manipur or both of bills to heal together. But that is why, as Flavia also said, this is patriarchy 101. This is extreme patriarchy. Militarization of our lives have been happening. Let's not forget that Manipur is a conflict. So to pit again one woman from one community, we will be falling into the trap of this violent patriarchal mindset, which are militarized. Again, as I mentioned, 60 armed groups operating there. They collide with the political parties. They collide with the criminal groups. And they are controlling our lives. So we have to tackle that first and ensure that justice is done to every sister, every mother, every woman who have faced this. We have to fight this unitedly.
You know, the fact, Kanimori, is what the victims need is they need justice and they need accountability. Who is going to ensure that? Now, when you want the Prime Minister to speak in Parliament, the opposition, the government says, some of the worst crimes against women are committed in opposition-ruled states. The Prime Minister in his statement outside Parliament even mentioned Congress-ruled Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh. So should we be having generic debates on crimes against women or be more specific to ensure accountability in Manipur?
See, it's very sad to compare both. I'm not saying that, just because it is an opposition ruled state, none of the states have any violence and no crimes against women. Everywhere there are crimes against women, and as a country we have had to be ashamed about the crimes against women in different parts of the country. But these are incidents which happen randomly, and it is not, this is a conflict. Manipur has literally been burning. It is an ethnic conflict, and the government has to take responsibility. It's nearly 3 months. They have not been able to, put down the violence there, and they have not been able to get peace there. And today, the bit of peace which is there is only because it is you have the army there, you have the forces there, and it is a forced kind of peace which we are seeing. And what was the government doing for? It's been going on for such a long time, and nothing has happened. And the government knew that this has happened. These women were, stripped and paraded and raped. But after the FIR was filed, why did the government not take action? Why is it that the videos had to go viral and everybody had to, start questioning the government till one person was arrested and later a few others? Why was the government silently watching as a spectator? What were they doing?
Right.
And you cannot, this is something which is unacceptable, and you can't try to divert it talking about other states. What is happening in Manipur, you cannot compare it to any other state.
Well, let me just say, we've had enough of whataboutery. What we need is accountability. Women need justice. Women need their dignity protected. And women need men to stand up for them at this hour of crisis. I appreciate my guest joining me on my top talking point there. Now, amidst the ongoing situation in Manipur, amidst all that violence, there is the reality of mothers who are seeing the smiles of their newborn babies. 32 children were born in a relief camp in Imphal in the last 60 days. Ashutosh Mishra with this report.
Hope in the midst of gloom. This relief center in Imphal, Manipur has become a godsend for women and children hit by the ethnic violence. The camp has seen 32 childbirths in the last 60 days.
From 21st May to 21st July, 32 children were born in the relief camp of Imphal, the youth hostel, which is operated by the BJP workers here. These women somehow managed to escape from the conflict area, which are Churachandpur, Bishnupur, Torbang, and all these places. It took more than 15-20 days for all of them to at least gather the information about the old pregnant woman. Now all you see, these innocent faces, there is a sense of fear, apprehensions, concern for the future of their children, as they have seen their houses burn, family members killed, and somehow they escaped while they were pregnant, not just saved their lives, but also their child.
When they came here, they were traumatized because of this conflict situation that happened in this Manipur. And then they were like, they have no hope because already their houses burned and their house has been, cracked down. Because of that situation, they have been like, we don't have any hopes. How can we survive in this future?
The children who escaped the clashes with their families are adapting to the new realities of life.
ये क्या है ये क्या है? आप खेलते हो इससे? और ये क्या है? क्या लिखा है इसके ऊपर? पेपर. अच्छा, इस पे काउंटिंग लिखा है. 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4. पढ़ के दिखाओ.
2 3s are 4, 2 3s are 6, 2 4s are 8, 2 5s are 10, 2 6s are 2, 8, 2 7s are 14, 2 8s are 16, 2 9s are 18, 2 10s are 20.
Who's this? Is this you? Is this you? No? You? Is this you? Who's this? Who's it?
The images of violence still haunt these victims. Many recount their harrowing experiences on India Today's cameras.
यहाँ में तो बहुत ख्याल रखता है, डॉक्टर भी रखता है, मेडिसिन सब कुछ यहाँ में फ्री में देता है और खाना वगैरह सब वो लोग ने देता है.
For these women, going back to their villages is a no-go for now. This camp remains their only shelter and hope. With Ashutosh Mishra in Imphal, Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's turn from there to how the Manipur violence is impacting neighboring Mizoram. Today, thousands of people took part in a solidarity march in Mizoram's capital, Aizawl, to express solidarity with the violence-hit Kuki tribals of Manipur and demanded that central and Manipur government restore peace and normalcy at the earliest. Mizoram is experiencing the blowback of what's happening in Manipur.
The Manipur tragedy is creating ripples across northeast. Thousands took out protest rallies across Mizoram on Tuesday in solidarity with the Kuki-Zomi tribal community.
The video of Kuki women being subjected to torture and sexual assault has triggered very, very sharp and angry reactions here across the border in Mizoram, with a massive protest call being given by the Young Mizo Association.
Anger over the violence unleashed on women in Manipur during the ethnic clashes was evident at the march.
That Arunachali girl, that beautiful one, she asked the Prime Minister to give priority to the women of India instead of the cow. Cows are more precious here in India than women. It is not fair.
We cried, we bled, we're still bleeding. We are still bleeding. We are all bleeding.
Chief Minister Zoram Thanga, ministers and MLAs cutting across party lines took part in the protest rally in Aizawl, organized by civil society groups.
It needs a thorough investigation and a thorough solution. I believe that both the government of Manipur as well as the government of India has to try their level best for the solution of this.
There is a fear among the Meiteis living in Mizoram after an organization of former militants advised them to be cautious. Many have returned to Manipur.
Situation is good, no problem.
Actually, according to the notice, we are little feel scared about the situation. That is why we thought that better to come back in on our state.
The ethnic clashes in Manipur have sharpened the divide between communities in the northeast. The challenge for the government is to ensure that the tensions don't spill over to the other states. With Indrajit Kundu in Aizwal and Ritik Mondal in Imphal, Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining me now is C. Lal Rosanga, the Member of Parliament from the Mizo National Front, joins me. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Lal Rosanga. Is it true that the MNF government in Mizoram now is calling for the dismissal of the Biren Singh government in Manipur? Are you saying that the Biren Singh government has failed to protect the lives of the people of Manipur, especially the Kuki Zomis who have links with Mizoram?
That's my personal view, and also the views of and the sentiments of the people I represent in the parliament, and therefore I believe that that has to be done.
You're telling me on this show that the Biren Singh government must go because you believe it has failed to protect the lives of the Kuki Zomi community, which has these links with the people of Mizoram. Are you saying that the Biren Singh government has acted unilaterally in support of the Meiteis against the interests of the Kuki Zomis and they failed to protect them? Is that what is angering the people of Mizoram at the moment?
Definitely not. The present government in Manipur has not been able to protect the lives and properties of the Kuki Zomi people there in Manipur. They have totally failed, and we all know about it. And therefore, we have to see that a better government or a central rule has to be imposed there so that things can improve. Otherwise, it will never improve.
No, you're calling for central rule, president's rule or removal of the government. But sir, your party, the Mizo National Front, is part of the Northeast Democratic Alliance, part of the I.N.D.I.A at the center, which is headed by the BJP. Is the MNF, Mizo National Front, thinking of pulling out of the I.N.D.I.A and striking out on its own before the elections in Mizoram later this year?
I personally feel that we cannot be a part of this alliance if that particular government in Manipur continues like that, because it has failed to contain things. Law and order situation has been now out of hand for so long, and therefore we don't see anything stabilizing in that state till that government goes.
But do you believe, Mr. Larturanga, that in Manipur, there is an element of Hindu Meitei versus Christian Kuki Zomi? Is that one of your concerns again? In Mizoram, you have a large Christian population and the Biren government is tangled now in an ethnic conflict which has religious dimensions, Hindu Meiteis versus Christian Kukis, many churches being burned, the church leaders are unhappy. Am I right in saying that that is also a worrying dimension playing out at the moment now?
I believe the Christians have been targeted in Manipur, and so many churches have been burned down, and so many sufferings have taken place, and even the churches that have been destroyed, burned, and vandalized, there have been particular sacrilege committed in some of the churches that were burnt down, and therefore we, I believe, as Christians, we are also target out there.
But there have been a lot of solidarity protests in Aizawl, sir, and on other parts of Mizoram today. Today we've seen street protests in solidarity with the Kuki Zomi community in Aizawl. Will these tensions spill over now into Mizoram, where many Meiteis also live? Is Manipur affecting Mizoram?
Manipur is affecting Mizoram, but not adversely as such. We have internally displaced persons coming in, and we are very much concerned about the situation in Manipur. Therefore, today there was an expression of solidarity with the brothers and sisters in the hills of Manipur, those who have suffered, those who are victims of violence, And today, we would like to see that peace is restored in Manipur, but we don't see that an easy task. However, we feel that in Manipur, the situation has to be under control, has to be put under control. So far, it has not been put under control. Nobody has been able to contain the situation there as it is, because there is violence even still now. So we would like to see that Manipur peace and tranquility is restored at the earliest, so that Mizoram will also remain at peace, because Mizoram's peace is hard-earned, and we don't want any spillover effect from the other side of the border as long as that can be helped.
One final question, Mr. Lalsuranga. You're saying you're clearly in solidarity with the Kuki Zomi community. Is it true that there are reports that the MNF government wants Meiteis to return to Manipur for their own safety? The Peace Accord MNF Returnees Association, or PASMA, has asked Meiteis to leave the state for their own safety. Are Meiteis endangered in Mizoram? Can you guarantee their safety?
The Returnees Association had indeed asked the Meiteis to leave Mizoram at one point of time, but later they have clarified that they are not so serious about it, that in fact they want the Meiteis to remain, but they just wanted them to be careful, to take care in their lives so that they won't show any hostility or offense towards the Mizo community.
Okay. Let me leave it there, Mr. Lalsuranga. Clearly what you're saying, therefore, is that you expect the centre to act in Manipur to ensure that you remain within this wider alliance. So the Mizo tensions, in a way, with the Manipur government are continuing. Let's take a break at this point. On the other side, we will be back tonight's good news story coming up. You're watching the news today. News without the noise.
Several villages in Turbang areas were burned in the ethnic clashes, the violence, and all I see only the footprints, everything that burned to these ashes. They blame for everything that is happening here to the Kuki government.
We are only defending ourselves.
There is a literally line of this area towards the Kuki side where you have a huge number of bunkers. No one could ever imagine that in a state, in the same country, in the same district, we will ever see such situation which has become a battlefield. And I could say this is a war zone in Manipur.
Grounded in journalism, on the ground reporting, only on India Today TV.
Welcome back. Let's turn to tonight's good news today story, and it's an interesting one. The skyrocketing prices of tomatoes recently, which have affected the pockets of several people, have also proven to be a boon for farmers in Himachal Pradesh Mandi. Some of these farmers who are happily depending on tomato crops have now earned lakhs by selling the tomato at good prices. Take a look at tonight's good news today story.
Tomatoes are selling at nearly 100 rupees per kilo in many cities, but not all are seeing red. The skyrocketing prices of tomatoes over the last month have brought a windfall for farmers in Himachal Pradesh's Mandi district. Jairam Saini, a 67-year-old farmer, earned 1 crore 10 lakh rupees this year from the sale of tomatoes. Saini sowed tomatoes on 60 bighas, while his sales dropped from 10,000 crates last year to 8,000 this time. The higher prices saved him.
पिछले साल कितने क्रेट हुए थे आपके?
पिछले साल 10,000 क्रेट हुए थे और उसमें जो है हमें 60 लाख के बराबर इनकम हुई थी।
Jairam, who holds a master's degree in political science, has been a farmer throughout his life.
इस काम को हम बहुत सालों से करते आए, एक तजुर्बा सा हो गया है, उसी के आधार पर हम आगे कदम बढ़ाते हैं। 1970 में मैट्रिक की है, तभी से हम इस कार्य को छोटे रूप में करते हैं।
Farming is not a cakewalk. Most of them have loans to repay.
ये तो रेट आने की वजह से हम बच्चे 3 साल का हमको लोगों का कर्जा देना है, वो उसकी भरपाई हुई है। 25-20 लाख में हमारा 15-16 लाख तो खर्चा है।
Tomatoes have proved to be a golden crop for farmers in Mandi, but they realize the luster may not last long. Next year could be a different story. Bureau Report, India Today.
Well, the tomato helps some people at least. Okay, let's leave you with our image of the day. Hundreds of vehicles got submerged in Noida's Ecotech area due to the rise in the water level of the Hindon River. The Hindon River in Noida, tributary of Yamuna, witnessed a rise in the water level on the 24th of July. These are our visuals of the cars underwater. You stay well, stay safe. Good night, Shubhratri, Jai Hind, Namaskar.
I want to ask you, how far is 21,000 on the Nifty now?
Yeah, so I think markets would continue to achieve new milestones going ahead. What we are eyeing right now is 20,150. So ideally, as per technical analysis, whenever any stock or the index trades its all-time high, so it's a reciprocal retracement theory, which gives us the target projections or the next resistance projections. Now, 161.8% retracement of the previous correction that we saw in the Nifty, but the one which bottomed out around 16,800, that level is coming around 20,150. So I think as of now, for short-term perspective, maybe later half of this month or early next month, we would see 20,150 getting achieved. And yes, once that is surpassed, then 21,000 also would not be, it would not take much time.
So Ruchit, now tell us, how do investors make money at record high markets? What's the strategy that they should adopt right now?
So one should adopt a stock-specific strategy over here. See, all the markets, if you see the broader markets, most of the sectors have participated in this up move. So I think auto is one name where we have continuously witnessed a good momentum of late. So I think this trend is likely to continue going ahead. Escorts, Ashok Leyland, then Tata Motors, these are some of the names which would continue this outperformance.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
So sorry.
Good evening, viewers. Let's take a look at the weather report across the major cities this evening. Thiruvananthapuram is at 31 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 26. Mumbai is at 29 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 42. Panji is at 25 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 30. Ahmedabad is at 32 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 54. Bhopal is at 29 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 21. Jaipur is at 31 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 78. Delhi is at 31 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 71. Srinagar is at 30 degrees Celsius with AQI being 38. Lucknow is at 33 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 52. Patna is at 37 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 49. Kolkata is at 33 degrees with an AQI of 26. Hyderabad is at 26 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 43. Bangalore is at 24 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 30. Chennai is at 30 degrees Celsius with an AQI of 26. This is all we have for you in this segment. Hope wherever you are, you find favorable weather around you. Keep watching India Today for all the weather updates with me, AI Sana, all through the day.
Co-powered by the new Kia Seltos, the badass reborn. Extra safe polycab green wire.
"83 days of Manipur violence. More stories of horror unfold. Manipur angle, nobody's touching. Listen to those who saved Manipur.
The present crisis in Manipur, which has emerged suddenly, the armed forces, the paramilitary forces, the people of Manipur, we all got together and brought it under control.
Army generals who served there. India Today reaches areas no one else has. Our top focus on India First.
83 days into the Manipur crisis, I wanted to get you an important perspective that's been missing in the media's coverage so far. A perspective of a stakeholder that has been at the forefront of keeping Manipur peaceful through a history of tension. If you haven't already guessed, I'm talking about the Indian Army. Manipur became a part of newly independent India in 1949 and became a separate state 23 years later in 1972. Throughout this time, there has been sporadic ethnic conflict. But the creation of the state spawned a number of insurgent and secessionist organizations that were looking for their own independent states. And this was amidst differences between the different ethnicities already existing within the state. In 1980, the Chaudhry Charan Singh government, when he was Prime Minister at the centre, declared Manipur a disturbed area and brought in the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, or AFSPA. The Army and the Assam Rifles, the two main forces deployed to fight insurgents and protect civilians, fought for decades to bring normalcy back to Manipur, especially in the shadow of separatist movements in neighbouring Nagaland. A potent mix of military firmness and a friendly face, resulting in an overarching suspension of operations between government forces and most separatist or insurgent groups. Other than sporadic attacks on the military, including ones in which many troops have been killed at one go, largely by groups finding a safe haven across the border in Myanmar, Manipur had become very calm, almost normal. Calm enough, in fact, for the government to recently lift the harsh AFSPA provisions from several parts of Manipur, a telling sign, if there ever was one, of normalcy. Things were going well until the crisis that erupted in May this year. Army troops have had to be rushed back in large numbers to the state. A military force that ideally shouldn't have any role in internal strife is seeing itself deployed in strength amidst a conflict it was hoping it would never have to participate in. That's the situation right now. The stakeholders are the army, but we're also in a situation where the army must wonder, well, obviously not openly, but the army must wonder through its community whether all the hard work done over decades to bring normalcy into Manipur could be undone by this current crisis. Here are the big questions that we are asking at this point of time. One, could this crisis undo decades of gains by the army and the paramilitary forces in Manipur? Number two, could this crisis push insurgent groups to revive and to regroup? Number three, could China take advantage of the Manipur crisis in some way? Number four, will this crisis ruin India's anti-infiltration drive? We've just heard of over 700 persons infiltrating in from Myanmar in just the last few weeks. Number five, could this crisis revive secessionism in the northeast because the state is seen to be on the back foot and beleaguered? Joining me live to answer some of these questions and throw some light on what are very difficult questions that only an army man can answer. Lieutenant General S.L. Narasimhan. He commanded an army corps in the northeast, very illustrious scholar of army studies and an expert on China. Lieutenant General D.B. Shikatkar, who was the author of one of the most important documents on reform for the military. He also fought insurgency as a young officer in Manipur itself. And Lieutenant General Shaukin Chauhan, who has been director of the Assam Rifles, written extensively about the Northeast and served there for many years across different ranks. Generals, thank you very much for being with me. Always a pleasure, and I deemed it important to our viewers that we hear directly, not just from experts, from those who've literally had skin in the game, who've literally served in the Northeast, served in Manipur, and seen the peace or normalcy over there directly affect, their own career progressions. General Narasimhan, I'd like to start with you, sir. You've been looking at what's been happening in Manipur, no doubt. How do you see this situation? And one of the clearest questions one can ask is there a risk that this current crisis could undo, some or all of the good work that has been gained over decades in Manipur, much of it by the army, sir?
Thank you very much, Shiv, to get me on this show, and it has been a pleasure to always interact with you earlier also and now. The situation in Manipur, of course, is no doubt it's worrisome. And the way it started and the way it has spread is even more worrisome. The thing that you asked about, whether in addition to commanding a corps in Dimapur, which also catered for the entire counterinsurgency operations in Manipur, I also commanded my battalion in Manipur.
Yes.
So I had been, before that, I also served as an instructor in the counterinsurgency and jungle warfare school, where I taught about the insurgency in Manipur. So over a period of time, one has seen the situation going ups and down like a sinusoidal curve. You talked about the present situation. Some time ago, you find even in Chudachandpur and in Bishanpur areas, there was a problem between Cookies and Paites, and then they had an issue. Cookie land was a demand which was already existing earlier. So all the work that has been done so far seems to be at least temporarily negated for a period till which we will be able to get this peace going again. The issue that we need to look at is how to bring the situation under control, because this situation actually is what will tell us how these fragile peace, when we create a peace situation in the Northeast, how fragile it is and how it is easy to actually get back to where it started. So what we need to do at this point in time is to look at how to ensure that the violence doesn't take place, how to get the weapons that have been looted are brought back into the accounting, and ensure that peace prevails in Manipur, at least temporarily, before we can get into talks with many of the groups, which the Home Minister did when he came to Manipur. That kind of a thing is something that we need to look at. And the issue that we need to keep in mind is simply that we need to treat it as a temporary phase, and we should work hard to get back to the peace situation that was prevailing earlier than when it started.
Okay, very clear answer that there is a risk of things deteriorating if the imperative of normalcy is not brought back at the earliest, because each passing day, we are on day 83 now, with each passing day, things become more and more unpredictable on those bigger picture issues. General Chauhan, you've been Director General Assam Rifles. You've served in Manipur. You've been, up close. You've had a ringside view of how Manipur has changed over the years. Before this current crisis, things were, as close to normal as it was, probably possible to be. How do you see it, sir? Given the amount of work it has taken to bring Manipur to this stage, General Chauhan, how do you see this current situation and whether it could actually undo some of that good work that you did?
Firstly, thanks for getting me on your show. It's always an interesting, it's always interesting to be on the show to discuss with my peers and people I've admired in my service life. As far as the assessment of the situation is concerned, Shiv, it's important for us to understand that what actually has happened, where and how can the Assam Rifles and the army control the situation, and how can we bring back peace, and finally, how can we reconcile the two communities. So when this violence in Manipur started, the Assam Rifles were functioning with about almost 8 to 10 battalions within the state of Manipur, including 3 in and around the area of Imphal. And there were 3 units in the area of Chudachandpur, including 2 looking at the IB between Manipur and Myanmar, and 1 inside to look at the counterinsurgency. So in all these forces were very inadequate because a lot of forces of the army had been moved to the borders of Arunachal Pradesh, mainly to deal with the Chinese threat or the PLA, creating problems for us all along the Arunachal belt or along the line of actual control with China. Now, to control the situation, we had to bring these forces back. So that has left a void along our LAC. That's the first issue that has affected our war preparedness or deal with any Chinese intrusion. Secondly, the number of forces in Manipur are inadequate. Thirdly, because we had taken out the OSPA from the Imphal Valley to carry out counterinsurgency operations and to carry out any kind of search missions, especially for the missing weapons, we needed to send out a large number of patrols or a large number of columns.
Right.
These columns had to be accompanied by a judicial magistrate. I was speaking with the Director General of the Assam Rifles a couple of weeks back, and he was telling me that, sir, on any day, we are sending out between 150 to 180 columns inside Manipur.
But, on that specific point, sir, about, you've explained to us how it works and the way that there is a void that has been left as far as force levels are concerned. But do you, as someone who served there, feel that this current situation could damage the good work that has been done over decades, sir?
There is no doubt, Shiv, because we had been able to establish an excellent rapport with the people. We had been able to establish an excellent grid that dealt with the minor problems that happened. But the internation, inter-community problem between the Kuki people and the Meiteis has actually, though we are very well prepared and though we had all the information, has left us a little unprepared to deal with the kind of violence that erupted after May 3rd. That issue, actually, we were fairly unprepared for.
Yeah.
And then to deal with the large number of refugees that had to move, the Meitei refugees coming in from Churachandpur and the Kuki refugees being thrown out from the Imphal Valley, have forced us to create a large number of refugee camps.
Yes, indeed.
We were not prepared for these refugee camps.
Okay, that is a harsh assessment. You're saying that it will definitely have some kind of impact, even though what that impact is going to be may not be, fully visible at this stage. But, as someone who, headed the Assam Rifles, to say that there is definitely going to be an impact is itself a very, very sobering thought. General Shiketkar, as a young officer, in different ranks, you've served there, you've fought the insurgency, sir. As a former army man, how does it make you feel to see this current crisis? It's day 83 and it's not over yet, sir.
Yes, I must compliment you, first of all. The initial introductory remarks which you made, in fact, you have summed up the entire issue. I served in Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram during peak insurgency service.
Yes.
64, when Nagaland almost declared independent state. It spread into Manipur, it spread into Mizoram, it spread into Tripura, and Ulfa became the things. My study says, and I have been the Corps Commander of 4 Corps looking after these areas. My understanding is that the present crisis in Manipur, which has emerged suddenly, the armed forces, the paramilitary forces, the people of Manipur, we all got together and brought it under control. It became a peaceful state, and suddenly it has started working.
Yeah.
So much so that our leaders have called Manipur or Northeast as a gateway to East. Manipur provides you the entry into Myanmar, into Thailand and other parts. That is the geographical importance. My understanding is there is a footprint of unrest. It is in the control of China. It is under the control of China. MPLA, Manipur Liberation People's Army, Ulfa, even today, they are in Yunnan province and Kunming. The money is there. The weapons are coming. I had operated against Maungami's gang, which was caught, which was coming back from China. 200 people were caught in Nagaland, and I was terrorizing them. My understanding is there's a long-term strategy on the part of China, and unfortunately, in our own country, we have people who have sympathy not to India, not to the government of India, but to somebody else. That is the problem which is being created. Manipur is Imphal Valley. I know it backwards, General Chauhan mentioned, General Narasimhan mentioned. Very peaceful, loving country. They perform all the rights which are there.
I wanted to.
There's a problem.
General Shiketkar, since you mentioned China, and I'm almost running out of time, I wanted to get a quick word in from General Narasimhan, because he is, an expert on China issues. General Narasimhan, would you quickly weigh in on that? Could China take advantage in some way of what's happening in Manipur?
Two things on this, Shiv. Ever since you gave those questions, I've been thinking about it, even before. One, the insurgency in Manipur as well as in Nagaland and Mizoram was supported by China in the early 60s and 70s. And by about early 80s, that support had dried out. But in between, there are, like the General Shakatkar mentioned, there have been reports of people meeting in Ruili. Some support to Ulfa and other things that come up. In that background, and the weapons that are coming in from More and other places in Manipur, is actually having Chinese markings, and we have seen that earlier also. But the problem is, it is very difficult to actually pin it on the official support that is talked about from China.
Right.
The weapons are coming. We know, we have raised this with the Chinese also in the past, and they have clearly said that these are probably weapons which are actually not in the official domain. It must be being pilfered somewhere else. So these are the kind of things that we get to hear.
Okay.
But there has been some kind of an influence of China in the Northeast was visible when reports emerged as the Chinese operators meeting the underground leaders from India in Ruili. So there is some issue, but how far the involvement in the present situation will be very difficult to actually attribute to anybody as yet.
Okay, understood. It's still a shape-shifting situation. Day 83, it's a much larger number than it should have been ideally. Things should have been brought under control a long time ago. But I can only imagine how, army veterans who've spent careers in the Northeast, are looking at, work being reversed, undone, negated by this current situation that has spiraled out of control and hasn't come to an end yet. Thank you very much, General Narasimhan, General Chauhan, General Shiketkar. I wish I had more time. Unfortunately, this was a short show, but I really appreciate you taking the time out and being with us here on India Today. Well, that's a wrap. Manipur has been burning for more than 80 days now amidst the unfolding ethnic violence. Glaring instances of women's safety in danger have surfaced, especially in the wake of that horrifying video that went viral recently. More chilling stories, however, have come to the fore. What that video captured was only the beginning. Here's a detailed report.
Days after a video of two Kuki Zomi tribal women being stripped naked and paraded went viral, more horror stories are coming out of Manipur. On May 4th, a similar crime took place in the state capital. Two young women who used to work at a car wash facility in Imphal were allegedly abducted, gang raped and murdered by a mob. The victims belonged to the Kuki Zomi tribal community. The mother of one of the victims filed a complaint. An FIR was registered on May 16th. The FIR says the women, aged 21 and 24, were at a rented house when a mob entered their room and allegedly raped them before killing them.
When the problem got started, her mother rang up twice, but she did not pick up the phone. But the last moment, one lady's Métis woman picked the phone. Whether you want your daughter alive or dead, she said to her mother. At that moment, they put up the phone. Later on, we knew that the lady was dead.
They were tortured to death, and there are another girl from your same village, right?
Mm-hmm. The two girls worked together in a Gama car wash. So the two were killed in the same day.
There are horror stories from both sides of the Meitei-Kuki divide. An 80-year-old widow of a freedom fighter from the majority Meitei community was locked inside her house and set on fire by an armed group in Kakching district.
उस दिन जब हमला हुआ, माँ को क्यों छोड़ कर आए थे? क्या उन्होंने बोला था या फिर वो चल नहीं पा रही थी?
माँ तो मॉर्निंग का और कुकी मैराथन में आया है, घर भी सभी भी है और घर भी सब अग्नि है,
जला दिया।
The fault lines run deep. These women from the Meitei community have put up barricades and built temporary bunkers to safeguard their territory near the Kuki-dominated areas.
As I pass through this Imphal stretch, which is a particular stretch divides the entire territory between Kuki-dominated territory and the Métis. And what I see here, women have taken charge here on the street, not only guarding their territory, but also maintaining these barriers, these barricades, where every vehicles are being frisked by these women. and the only reason is that they want safety of their families, their children, and these women, despite that many of them have been victim of the violence, they are standing tall against all odds. These women symbolize the power of women in Manipur.
हाँ डर तो डर है ना डर हो गया तो हम लोग तो मेरा माय विलेज माय चिल्ड्रन माय फैमिली प्रोटेक्शन करता है ना डर हो गया तो हम लोग तो सब मर गया तो क्या कर गया डर हो गया तो हम सब उसके मदर लुक्स ने आ गया ना
The crisis is spilling over. Thousands participated in a protest march in Mizoram, expressing solidarity with the Kuki-Zomi community in Manipur.
We are here in Aizawl today. We are seeing already big crowds gathering right in the heart of Aizawl to show their solidarity and protest. People are of course dressed in black because this is a somber occasion where people will be protesting against what they are calling the brutality on Kuki community in Manipur. At the same time, we can see men and women wearing the traditional scarf, which I'm told is called puan, and this is to symbolize somebody's death. And we know that more than 150 people have died in Manipur over the past 2 months due to ethnic clashes. You can see "Stop attacking our tribal brethren" in Manipur. These are the kind of posters and placards that women have come out with.
He should give priority to the women of India, like he gave priority to the cow. So he should give priority. He should give protection for the women of India, not only from Manipur, all over India. All the Indian women, we are shouting now. We are asking for him, and he is still silent. So he is the one to protect us.
Mizoram CM blamed the Manipur government for the law and order collapse in the state.
Now the wound is really deep. It's very difficult to heal this with a painkiller. It needs a thorough investigation and a thorough solution, like the doctors doing the operation. Therefore, the situation in Manipur, it's more of an ethnic now. Therefore, I believe that both the government of Manipur as well as the government of India has to try their level best for the solution of this.
With Ritik Mondal, Indrajit Kundu and Ashutosh, Bureau Report, India Today.
As India Today reports the Manipur crisis from all angles, the most glaring perspective of it all is, of course, from the ground. Churachandpur and Bishnupur remain the two epicenters of the violence that is unfolded. However, the situation from the north of Imphal, the state capital, remains a mystery. India Today is the first channel reporting from the northern part of Imphal in Limakong, where Kuki and Meitei have been in a war zone with each other for the last many weeks. Around 29 villages and more than 20,000 people of the Kuki tribe have been isolated from the mainland due to the conflict. Protests are being held in the valley by women of the Kuki tribe in Limakong, demanding separate administration. This is an exclusive ground report by India Today's Ashutosh Mishra.
I'm here in Limchang area. This is West Imphal. Imagine one district where you have two community people, which is now divided by their community, has literally become a drawn line of control between them. This part where 29 villages, more than 20,000 people are now literally isolated from the mainland. These people need medical attention, they need food, they need everything that any human being requires, but for now it left totally isolated, no help reaching out to them. Even during the victim, they have lost several people, there have been injuries, but for now this part remain unnoticed. India Today is at ground in this part of Manipur to bring you the details and tell you the story how these people got in the crossfire of the ethnic clashes and now needs a solution, needs a longer permanent solution. Because of the conflict, many of these people have left their homes. Women, children have gone to the safer places. And those who are left here struggling for survival. The reason is, now look at these houses. There's a very old lady who's living here with the family. Almost nothing left now. But the critical, what makes it critical is they are running out of food. Now in this house, this is the only amount of rice which is left, and it is sowing season. Of course, they have to go to 12 hours to Churachandpur to bring. In other cases, usual days, just by going 3 to 4 kilometers in the near West Imphal district, there is a big market, and that have been the tradition they have been sharing. They're going to sell their vegetables, bring the dry ration here. But as far as dry ration is concerned, what I see here, some amount of rice, which this family could barely survive for another 2 to 3 days. Only vegetables because they grow locally, that's all they have. And the moment you enter in the kitchen, all I see, this is the only vegetable that they have left, locally grown vegetable. And there I see the elder lady cooking some food in the chula. There is so that explains the situation and the plight of the poor people who are caught in the crossfire. But as far as the situation is concerned, there are some people who would speak about the current crisis. There are how many such families who are still living in this village and several other villages around, and how are they surviving?
Actually, because of this conflict, this violence, around, I should say 60 to 70% of the households are struggling to get their livelihood. Most of them, I should say, are daily wage earner, and now they are finding it hard to get 2 days a meal even.
What is the name of this lady? I see only this amount of dry ration left.
Yes, they have only this much left, and their livelihood is very, very uncertain. This is also the contribution of some goodwill people from their neighbors.
In our Lemkong area, the people have been isolated. We are in the hills, and no one has covered so far except you mainstream people. We are very grateful for coming to this distance. And the people are living in just like in a war zone. We could not move out freely. The people are just hanging on in the village with great difficulty, lot of distress, lot of tension, with hardly any facility to live a normal life.
That's it on India First. Thanks so much for watching. Business Today with Abha comes up next.
Armed with facts, she takes the news by its horns.
You think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold and direct, setting the tone for the biggest stories. From every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today. Good evening, you're with us here on Business Today. I'm Abha Bakaya. Here are the day's top stories. Tesla, just a few talks away from making an electrifying entry into India, promises not just world-class cars but a whole electric ecosystem. Looks to make India an export hub for Asia Pacific and Africa. Tata Motors share powers to another 52-week high as it declares a net profit of 3,203 crore rupees in April to June against a loss of 5,007 crore a year ago. Revenues also jumped 42% on year. Operating margin zooms by 700 basis points to 14.4%. Stock markets end flat after volatile trade. Gains in metals and auto stocks offset by selling in banking, FMCG and IT. Sensex in the red while Nifty closes in the green just about. Interest rates could soften by as much as 25 basis points in the next few quarters. PNB Housing Finance MD and CEO tells us in an exclusive chat, also says realty sector is on a rebound. More trouble for Byju's as it's now slammed by one of its largest shareholders. Netherlands-based Proces says the edtech company repeatedly ignored advice from its nominee director. Electric car giant Tesla is cranking up for a mega entry into India. Senior officials from the company will soon be meeting Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal to reportedly finalize the contours of the investment and operations. Business Today TV is privy to some of the plans. Here's a report.
You could soon be driving a made-in-India Tesla. Charging your electric car at a Tesla-installed charger, and even riding an Indian-made Tesla on your leisure trip to Vietnam. Fresh from rebranding Twitter, Elon Musk is now all set to disrupt the electric car market in Asia. Having successfully cleared the homologation stage for all 4 vehicle variants it sought approval for in 2021, Tesla is likely to begin operations in India with either the Model 3 or Model Y. There are also reports of Tesla introducing an all-new model in the 20 lakh rupee range to cater to the price-sensitive Indian market. Sources have told Business Today TV that the electric vehicle giant has set its sight on creating a major export hub in India, with a plan to target the Asian, Pacific and African markets. While the exact location is yet to be finalized, sources indicate that Tesla is looking at potential sites in southern India and Gujarat. An initial proposal submitted by the company reveals ambitious plans to construct a gigafactory in India. The state-of-the-art facility will have an annual production capacity of approximately 500,000 electric vehicles, one to rival the Tesla China plant in Shanghai, which has been hit by hurdles in its efforts to expand capacity to 450,000 units a year. The big development comes just a month after Elon Musk met Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New York.
India has more promise than any large country in the world.
Tesla's expansion goes beyond manufacturing operations. Sources say that the company is aiming to establish a comprehensive charging infrastructure throughout the country, addressing one of the key concerns for the widespread adoption of electric vehicles.
He really cares about India because he's pushing us to make significant investments in India, which it is something that we intend to do. And we're just trying to figure out the right timing.
Our iron base. Interestingly, Musk had detailed his greater investment vision for India, for the energy sector, after his talks with Prime Minister Modi.
Well, I think there's a tremendous amount of potential for all 3 pillars of the sustainable energy future. The three pillars being sustainable energy generation through solar and wind primarily, and obviously India is great for solar. The amount of land area you actually need to generate enough electricity to power India is very small. I believe it'd be probably 1 or 2% of the land area of India. So it's very doable. And then you need to pair that with stationary battery packs because the sun doesn't shine at night. And then you need electric vehicles, and then you have a sustainable energy future. And I think it will. The interesting thing people will find is that this is a lower cost way to go as well.
Well, it's not been an easy journey for Tesla in India. It wanted a red carpet welcome and huge financial incentives. But Modi government had other plans. It wanted Tesla to come make in India for the world. And after years of stalemate, Tesla could soon finally start making in India. Well, a crucial round of talks is scheduled between Tesla representatives and Commerce Ministry. With Karabas and Sanjeev, this is Chetan Bhutani for Business Today TV.
A little over 24 hours ago, SEBI chairperson Madhvi Puri Butch announced the regulator was exploring instantaneous settlement of trades on the bourses. Besides this, the regulator is looking at reviewing the delisting regulations to ensure better price discovery. SEBI chairperson also announced that it will move to T+1 settlement cycle for all kinds of scrips from the 1st of October. My colleague Sakshi Batra spoke to market analyst Himang Jani about the significance of these measures and how they impact the small investor.
Last evening, we heard the SEBI chairperson make a slew of announcements which will impact the way investors trade and they get the transactions done. Let's talk about all of these developments and help all our viewers really understand what do they actually mean for them as an investor and for the markets at large as well. So SEBI did announce that it will move to a T+1 settlement cycle for all scrips effective October 1st, 2023. This means that the trades will be settled one day after the date of the trade instead of the current 2-day settlement cycle, and this will be extended to mutual funds as well. Could you explain this further? Is this a path-breaking move? How will this really help the end investor?
Actually, T+1 is already implemented. Now what SEBI is talking about is an instantaneous settlement. The moment you do the transaction, it will get settled immediately, and with UPI framework being in place, the SEBI is trying to see if we can move towards an instant kind of a settlement, part. And we think that this can be very big in terms of reform because it can actually do away with the current margining system. Because currently, when you try to do some transaction on the exchange, you have to pay a certain upfront margin. And T+1 is surely a little better, but when you do instant transaction or settlement, that reduces the lag even by less than one more day. So I think for sure it will bring about more efficiency in the system. The money flow will be much faster, and I think the participation also will improve. So I think these are path-breaking reforms, and the speed at which SEBI is implementing or trying to implement is surely quite positive.
Okay. The other thing that SEBI chairperson announced was as far as the delisting process is concerned, to simplify that process. The regulator noted that the process of exiting the stock markets has to be made simpler going forward from here. They've now thought about allowing companies to delist via fixed price as well. If you could break that down for all those companies that are listed on the exchanges, how will this really impact them?
Sakshi, currently, there was this reverse book building process for the companies which were looking to delist their stock. And this process was slightly complex and, maybe few large investors could actually influence that. And I do remember that in few cases like I.N.D.I.A, for instance, the stock price was about 800 or thereabouts, and some large investors had put in a bid of more than 2,000 rupees and the promoter then backed out. And the whole delisting did not go through. And because there are a large number of investors, sometimes the price at which they quote varies, and there are instances where the delisting does not go through successfully. So I think the SEBI is trying to make it more simpler, and if there is a fixed price mechanism, maybe that would be a little easier for everybody to look at, and maybe the success ratio could be better. Okay. So we think that surely it's a positive step by SEBI for the companies who are trying to delist their stocks.
Equity markets settled flat, almost unchanged today after a volatile trading session. Selling pressure in select heavyweights was offset by buying interest in metal and auto counters. Traders are keenly awaiting the US Fed's monetary policy outcome due late tomorrow night. Let's take a look at how we fared for the day. It was really a session to do with consolidation. No major gains or losses today. Major gainers in trade. Let's take a look at that list. Earnings season in full swing. We saw some of the metal names in action today. Hindalco, JSW Steel, Tata Steel, and then we had Ultratech and NTPC bring up that list. On the downside, Asian Paints, ITC, L&T, Britannia, and Kotak Mahindra Bank taking a breather. Trading in GIFT Nifty derivatives on NSE International Exchange hit a record high on Monday with more than 2.14 lakh contracts and a turnover of $8.5 billion being traded. This is a huge growth over the first day full-scale operations volume of 33,570 contracts with a turnover of $1.21 billion. Importantly, the figure is considerably higher than the 60,884 future contracts in the first 5 trading days in April, May and June traded on the Singapore exchange before its shift to Gujarat. Since trading began in India, GIFT Nifty has witnessed a total cumulative volume of nearly 7.87 lakh contracts and a turnover of $30.28 billion. GIFT Nifty offers access to GIFT Nifty 50, Nifty Bank, GIFT Nifty Financial Services and GIFT Nifty IT derivative contracts on the NSE IX. Meanwhile, with the markets taking a break after the recent rally and small correction, investors are also looking at options outside the country. My colleague Shailendra Bhatnagar spoke to Prateek Oswal, head passive funds at Motilal Oswal AMC, about the global diversification in equities.
International funds are a relatively new segment that we've seen flourishing very well in India. How do you see their growth over a period of time, and why is it that initially we have international funds that are focused mainly on the US markets? Of course, newer ones are looking at the Asian geography too.
Yeah, I think the thesis comes from, portfolio theory. I think if you look at most investors outside of India, so if you look at investors in the UK or the US or even Southeast Asia, you'll see that a lot of their portfolio is devoted towards companies and stocks outside their home country. And I think in India, this was not the case. But I think today, people have realized that a part of your portfolio should be exposed towards stocks and sectors and companies outside of your home country. And what we've seen in the US markets in the last 10 years, 15 years, I think the potential to wealth creation is very, very high. I think I do believe that, yes, US is 60% of global GDP market cap. So I think international investing is a category. The first obvious market that you can look for is the US market, because you're looking at the biggest market, also a very fast growing market. The second thing to why I think US markets are important is because it's one market where you have global business models. If at just the S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies in the US, about 60%, 55 to 60% of their sales is actually happening outside the US. So I think when you're looking at global investing, you want to buy global stocks. And the center, the exchange or the country which holds the most amount of globally diversified business models happens to be the US, which is why I think US tends to be the first category. And now, obviously, once you have the US in your portfolio, I think it makes sense to add, say, emerging markets or developed markets. But I think US tends to be the most popular because of how well diversified its capital markets are.
When you look at international funds, and share this with our viewers, that there is an additional kicker that these funds get, because traditionally we've seen the rupee depreciate definitely versus the US dollar, as also weaken against several other currencies. So there is a kicker involved apart from the fantastic return that the underlying index already gives. Please explain that.
Yeah, so buying international equity, you're actually buying not one but two asset classes. You're buying, US stocks, and you're also buying US currency. And what we've seen is that the currency, the I.N.D.I.A,
return one?
tends to depreciate by 2 to 4% every year for the last 15, 20 years. So I'll give you an example. 2 to 4% might not be a big number, but actually, if you look at it in numbers, the Nasdaq index, for example, the fund in question, if you look at just the Nasdaq index in the US, over the last 15 years' time, it's actually gone up 6 times. But if you convert this in INR, it's actually gone up 12 times in India. So that is, so I think you're looking at the INR depreciation. So you're buying a US currency, which anyway is a good thing, because increasingly as customers we are traveling abroad, we are buying more
comparative returns.
So I think our spending is also in line with the US dollar. But I think it makes sense to have some of that in your portfolio. And lastly, also, and this is something that people also don't realize, but the dividend payments in the US companies tend to be a lot higher than Indian companies. You're looking at close to 1.5–2% dividends every year, which also adds up very meaningfully to your portfolio. So I think if you combine dividends, the US currency as well as US stocks, I think it's a very good value proposition for anyone who's looking to create wealth in investing internationally.
Presuming that the overall portfolio is for about 10 lakh rupees in the mutual fund category, how much would you want the international funds to be?
Yeah, so this is very important. We obviously talked about, wealth creation in the international domain, but actually, one of the key reasons to why a lot of our investor base invest in sort of international funds is actually portfolio diversification. What we've seen is that, Indian markets and US markets tend to move in very different directions. So when you're having a Nasdaq or an S&P or any other international fund in a portfolio, you're essentially getting very similar returns than what you would get in India, but your risk is coming down dramatically. International equity is one such asset class where return is exactly the same or maybe higher, but risk comes down dramatically. So we believe that portfolio diversification is very important, and international is an asset class that should be there in our portfolio. So we believe that out of the 10 lakh rupees that you're looking at investing, I would say, at least, 1.5 to 2 lakh rupees is something that investors could look at investing in international stocks or funds.
Let's take a break. When we return, one of the top NBFCs sees interest rates dropping very soon.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Welcome back. There could be relief in store for those who've taken loans. PNB Housing Finance MD and CEO Girish Koski has, in an exclusive conversation with Business Today Managing Editor Siddharth Zurabi, said that he sees interest rates dipping by 0.25 percentage point in the next 2 to 3 quarters. The PNB Housing Finance CEO also expressed confidence that the realty sector was reviving. Here's an excerpt.
What's your sense about the forthcoming quarters, and link it to the overall sort of trends that we are seeing in the housing finance market?
The market is quite robust. Real estate space is doing well since last 2.5 years. Immediately after COVID, it started recovering, and I think till now, looking back, in spite of interest rates going up to an extent of 225 bips, the demand has not gone down. There has been, some reports on affordable demand slightly going down, but I think overall it's pretty good. And if you look at this year as well, the industry should grow in the range of 12 to 13%, and we are targeting growth of 17 to 18%. And in terms of disbursement, we are looking at growth of 22%.
What is the impact of the interest rate hike cycle that we have seen almost 14 months? We've seen close to 250 basis points increase in interest rates. Is that impact also playing out in the market?
I think the demand, what we are seeing is net of interest rate hikes and also increase in construction cost. So increase in interest rate and increase in construction cost is deterrent to growth. So what demand we are seeing, what growth we are seeing, at least last year, what we saw for the industry was pretty good. So I think all that is baked in. So now quarter one is typically muted because of the seasonality. Otherwise, the growth is intact.
Okay. What about pricing? Since we are talking about the housing market, how much of that is a issue? We have seen prices go up. Developers have claimed that input costs are partially responsible, and especially in the metros, we are seeing a significant increase. Do you see prices being a factor in the near term? And is there any sense that you get that prices are going to at least stabilize, if not drop?
If you look at the developer business, sale of flats, even that's on the uptick. So construction prices have gone up, but that happened, in last about 12 to 15 months time. So we've seen that last year. So in spite of that, we've seen a lot of developers putting up good numbers. That had an impact. I think even that is absorbed. So I think going forward, at least the price should be stable. I think if everything is where it is, as is, the demand should be pretty robust, and even the developer fraternity will do well in terms of sale, and this is across all segments.
And I just want a broader comment from you on the interest rate cycle that we have seen. There are signs that we could be in an extended pause, and at some point circumstances may push the MPC to even consider a cut. What's your own sense about where the interest rate cycle is placed currently, and what can we expect in the next 6 to 9 months?
I think the rates went up in last 4 to 5 quarters. So now it is a consolidation phase. Maybe for next 2 to 3 quarters, it will consolidate. It will remain where it is. And after that, probably it might start coming down. But I think it will start with 25 bips down. So I think for next 3 to 4 quarters, it's going to be a good story for NBFCs and housing finance companies, because in the interest rate rising scenario and the consolidation stage, I think all the NBFCs and HFCs will do well. So which is little different vis-a-vis compared to bank, but at least non-bank would do well, in the interest rate increasing. When I say increase, not substantially, I think to a certain extent, and during the consolidation stage, HFCs and non-bank companies will do well. So I think given that, in that context, next few quarters are going to be really good for the space.
In a scathing criticism of Byju's, one of its largest shareholders has slammed the company. Prosus, which owns 9.6% stake in Byju's, expressed disappointment in the edtech giant's reporting and governance practices. This follows its nominee and that of all key investors quitting the startup's board last month. Prosus said in a statement that Byju's structures do not evolve sufficiently for a company of that scale, and the Indian firm disregarded advice and recommendations from Prosus director despite repeated attempts. Prosus added that its director had quit the board after it became clear that he was unable to fulfill his fiduciary duty to serve the long-term interests of the company and its stakeholders. The Netherlands-based investor had also last month slashed the valuation of the edtech unicorn to $5.1 billion from $22 billion a year ago. Let's also take a look at what's making news in the corporate world. The board of Larsen & Toubro has approved a share buyback worth 10,000 crore rupees. The company will buy back 33.3 million shares at a price of 3,000 rupees per share, a 17% premium on today's close. L&T has also announced a special dividend of 6 rupees per share and said it will invest up to 506 crore rupees in its subsidiary L&T Energy Green Tech. Aviation sector regulator DGCA has removed SpiceJet from its enhanced surveillance regime. DGCA had put the low-cost carrier under enhanced surveillance recently after it was facing multiple financial headwinds in recent months. Various lessors were seeking reposition of aircraft leased to SpiceJet, and some of the cases have been settled by the airline. Airtel's B2B business has reached a milestone in the Internet of Things space, becoming the first enterprise to achieve the feat of connecting over 20 million devices. According to a report by Frost & Sullivan Data, Airtel's B2B division commands an impressive 54.3% share in this market for FY23. The ITC share, one of the star performers on D Street, has slumped 6%. 2 days after its board gave an in-principle approval for the demerger of its hotel business into a separate subsidiary. The fall was steeper yesterday, with what analysts are saying has been profit booking by investors, and also because existing ITC shareholders may not get one ITC hotel share for every share held in the parent company. But does this mean the end of the year-long ITC rally? That's the big question. BTTV Sakshi Batra spoke to market analyst Hemang Jani to find out.
We've seen the stock has dropped about 7% in just 2 days after the hotel demerger news was announced. And that's after, the stock inching extremely close to that 500 mark as well. And after that, the sell-off has happened. Is the demerger that bad that the markets are reacting this way? Or is this just profit booking or a sell-in news kind of a reaction?
Yes, the stock had run up quite a lot, and the demerger was something that was going around, and market was expecting that. But I think the structure that they've chosen to demerge, wherein the ITC will own 40% and the shareholders will, own 60%. Some investors are not happy with that structure, though the final details will be known only on 14th of August. But this development surely has kind of created a little bit of disappointment, stroke uncertainty about how exactly things are going to pan out. There could be some amount of negative reaction because of the possibility of a holding company discount once ITC carves out the hotel unit from itself and lists separately. So it's a short-term pain that the stock is going through. I think when you look at on an overall basis, I don't foresee any major negatives in the core business. That's doing pretty well. Hotel business after a long time is showing good traction. So use this correction as an opportunity to buy, because anyway the stock had run up and investors were waiting on the sidelines.
Okay, but in the long term, would you say that there is value creation and value unlocking that can happen for the ITC share?